Real gamer hours. Basically, the Burning Crusade waiting room, the World of Warcraft Classic gold farming, the YouTube video reactions, all of it bundled up into one horribly produced and very poorly strung together stream with a little bit of Harris Heller in the background because the dude's amazing. Yep. So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to continue the trend of super zoomed in face cam, but before we do that, I just want to admire a little bit the new desk. You can't see it. It looks exactly the same, but this shit's sturdy as a rock. Sturdy as a rock. I'm shaking it. You barely see anything. I'm moving more than the desk is. And I mean, yes, this is on an arm that's connected to another arm, monitor arms, so it's gonna shake a little bit. But I also installed monitor arms for the first time, and dear God, I'm in heaven. How did I not live like this before? Oh man, it's great. I honestly do not know how I lived before this, before monitor arms. The monitor is at a better height. I don't have to strain my neck a little bit to look down, and I just have so much more room on my desk. Like, I used to have my headset stand over here, as well as the receiver part for the wireless headset over there as well. And so now it's all in front of me. I have my stream deck on the left side for the first time. Like, what? It's just great. I can't do it justice without showing, and I really do not have a way to show it other than... No, I don't have a way to show it. I just got 2 new Tinder notifications. We're going to ignore those. And yeah, the Burning Crusade waiting room. So today I just barely spent most of the day process of crafting that video. I had a lot more to say in it, and I ended up shooting it 3 times. First time going through and following sort of an outline that I had, and deciding that was too scripted, and that it had too much fluff, because really I just wrote the outline in like 3 or 4 minutes. It's probably more like 8 to 10 minutes, but it was just kind of like word vomit. And after iterating through it once, I decided to change it, and I tried to do a 1 take, and I still added too much fluff in there. And so then I took a 3rd take, and I think I like the way that turned out. I didn't talk too much. I didn't talk at all about Valheim. I didn't talk about my previous guild. I didn't talk about... I really didn't talk about a lot of the fluff stuff, and I just kind of got to the point of why I'm going to be playing the Burning Crusade more casually, and just the different mindset that I've had for gaming as of making this YouTube channel, and really how it's just made gaming just more fun. So I mean, it's just more immersive. I'm not worrying about playing optimally, and I'm just enjoying it. So I want more people who have the same or similar thoughts to game with. And yeah, had a lot more thoughts on it, so I could do a reaction to my own video, but I'm not going to do that. So as I sit here in Orgrimmar on Fairlina and try to get some gold for selling ports and water and food, and of course enchanting, because I have all them there in chances someone may want. Okay, I don't. I'm missing +4 to chest and 30 spell damage to weapons, but other than that, I have basically everything else that is meaningful. I've been playing in a way where I use half my regular keyboard and half my keypad at the same time. It's weird because I have to flick back and forth between regular key layout and my typing layout, so that throws me off a little bit, but we're getting used to it. I've discovered that I typically press the C key with my index finger because that comes up a lot, where I'm pressing V on the keypad with my index finger. So that's new for me. But yeah, let's see if I can finagle a setup over here. Okay, so we're going to move this over here. Boop. So that we can see that lovely trade chat. And then we are going to give that Harris Heller stream beats a little bit of a relax there. We'll play some more of it later. I love that shit. And we're going to try and come on, give it to me. We're piecing this together. It will happen. We will get this. So I will be flicking over to wow. When I see important stuff come up, but this probably won't be enough screen real estate to actually watch and react to videos, but we'll try it. Maybe I'll decrease the size of the player to the left or something like that. Dog's also feeling a little restless. You okay there, puppers? Yeah, okay. All right, so being a TBC waiting room, ooh, see what I was talking about? And again, every time I want to press C, pressing the wrong button. All right, so I mean, I kind of want. I don't know if I've ever intensely watched the actual cinematic trailer. I think everyone just got a buff. It is quite amazing because the past day or two I've been sitting in Orgrimmar, just trying to get some passive gold while I surf the tubes and come up with video ideas and stuff like that. And it's been kind of amazing how frequently I have both Warchief's Blessing and Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer. Like, I almost always have it. It's really weird. Oh. There's that button. So yeah, let's see. Let's craft a few more waters, because people need their waters, and we'll watch this. Let's see. So that's default view. It's as full as it can get in that aspect. How big is it gonna be? Not big at all, huh? It's proving to be more difficult than anticipated. Alt tab is my friend.
Imprisoned for 10,000 years.
So, my favorite part about this cinematic trailer is the fact that Illidan is voiced by Liam O'Brien. And if you ever watch Critical Role, or you will have seen this man's face. Love this man.
Banished from my own homeland. And now you dare enter my realm. You are not prepared.
Just so casually, you are not prepared. Oh, does he do the whole monologue live? That's awesome.
And this new script, and we're going to say, hey, so glad you're here. Those are vocal ref. Let's read lines 1 through 5 with a little monologue. Give me ABC reads, no right or wrong. Let's see what comes out.
Are we doing it as a run all the way down?
Let's do it. It looks like a monologue, right? This is yeah, we're going to do it as a monologue.
And last question before we go. So it's pretty low key until the last line.
That's right.
We can't fade back. So am I just gonna?
Probably, Dave, should he pull away from the mic, or is he okay to? He's okay. They'll take care of it.
There's a great deal of confusion because our engineer is also named Dave.
Right, Dave the writer and Dave the engineer. So, do you remember the Crusade opening cinematic to talk about the context, or you?
I think I've watched this before, to be honest.
There was a whole lot of green, a whole lot of darkness, a whole lot of Legion, and then flying, soaring up into the sky, we had Holding Skull, we had Illidan.
There we go. All right.
This is basically saying, hey kids, hey you damn kids, get off my lawn.
That's it. That's your motivation. I want to hear that in these lines. Exactly.
Hey, you damn kids, get off my lawn.
Say, okay, this is take 1. Give me 3 beats. See what you got. Here we go.
Imprisoned for 10,000 years. Banished from my homeland. And now you dare enter my realm. You were not prepared.
What's up, me 100 years ago?
Not prepared!
2 more. 2 more.
Liam O'Brien. What a man.
There's the go. Go ahead. 2 more. Just keep playing. See what I had an idea on the first 2 lines.
Yes.
Even though we've already done the cinematic, let's make him lower and more growly, like he's just trembling with rage in prison.
Like he's just trembling with. Was that not trembling with rage? Come on. Come on. Anyways, that's Liam O'Brien. He voices Illidan in this cinematic trailer. I don't know if he voices Illidan further in more portions of Warcraft. I would imagine that he does, but a whole lot of the Critical Role cast voices quite a few characters all throughout really Blizzard's games. A lot of them voice things in like Overwatch and Hearthstone, just all sorts of stuff. World of Warcraft, it's quite great. It's funny when so this is back before I really watched much Critical Role. There was I played a lot of Hearthstone, and in Hearthstone there was an expansion called Kobolds and Catacombs, and the cinematic trailer for that I guess you'd call it cinematic trailer. The trailer for that game featured a script read by Matt Mercer, the DM for Critical Role, and I didn't watch much Critical Role at that time, and it's funny coming back. I watched through the first season of Critical Role, and when I got to the point where they were endorsing Kobolds and Catacombs because one of them was the voice for the cinematic trailer, it clicked. It really clicked, and it just made. I already loved the cinematic trailer, and it just made the cinematic trailer tenfold so much better. And maybe I'll watch that in a bit. You were not prepared. I love that. Yeah, it's great. That hammer is so cool. Why is that hammer so cool? And that armor, is that... Hold up. Database. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Item sets, paladin. Is that the same shoulder pad? That's got to be the same shoulders, right? Justicar pauldrons. I think that's the same pauldrons. Wow. Okay. The hammer is so cool. So cool. Little mana worm. Right before she kills it. I forgot about the polymorph. I just have so much more appreciation for that after playing a mage in Classic. Shboop. Murlocs. Here it comes.
You are not prepared.
So good. I love all the WoW cinematics. I watch them over and over again. My favorite one is the Worgen one. I think I've watched that. I mean, I have to have seen all of them. It's just I'm not remembering specifically. Okay, let's watch it. What was that? Is that the classic? I mean, the Cataclysm cinematic? No. Is that the Wrath cinematic? They add new races during Wrath. It's gotta be the Cataclysm. Ooh. Yeah, that's what I thought. What'd I miss over here? Whole lot of nothing. Agony.
My hatred.
What is it? Now, I might get flagged for this. In Cata, they added the Worgens and Goblins. That's right. That's right. I had a little bit of a mind slip up there. My brain was not functioning. Oh, that's not it. Is that not it? Oh no, what is this? That's not it. Wogan. Work. There it is. Is that it? Let's see. Is there an actual World of Warcraft 1? I get a lot of that. Yeah, my brain just decided it did not want to work. Cinematic. Do. All right, scroll down more. Oh, this all just wait. They're not in, and I can't sort them. I don't know about this system there, YouTube. I'm broken. Can't find it. I think it's this one, but broken. Yeah, I've seen this. Werewolves are pretty cool. If they were Horde, I would consider playing one. Nah. Blood elves. Blood elves all the way. But I do like this
Look at what
this
you've
theme,
become.
this setting that they set up.
Those cursed beasts. They've left you nothing more than just another wretched mongrel. Do you even remember what you did to your friends? Your kind.
I mean, most werewolves don't remember what they did, so.
Until we found you.
Aye.
They've kept you alive because they still believe you can be saved. To which I must ask, is there even a shred of humanity left within you? Perhaps.
I forget this guy's name.
We will find out soon enough.
I want to say. No, someone said it, then I'd be like, yeah, totally that. But when that other cinematic said agony, it made me think of this. Agony. I watched that movie like 4 times in a week because my little sister was in love with it. Crowley, yes, Crowley. A little humor blues. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Agony. Oh, I'd probably get flagged for that like instantly, right? Hey, look, it's my video. Watch this before you play. I don't know about that, Force. I kind of want to watch. Something to Mad Seasons. Let's see, I've watched everything he has recently. My thoughts on Shadowlands. Are you prepared? You know, he really doesn't have that much Burning Crusade content. Now that I think about it, like it's getting more to be that. But I've watched all those recently. Do you like the Drustavar zone? Um, I'm such a WoW noob. Like I played off and on through retail, through Wrath and a little bit in Kata, and I didn't play it all in Mists. I played a little bit in WoD, but really like I didn't start playing World of Warcraft like hardcore until Classic, and I'm in love with it. So no, I'm sorry, I didn't like in BFA. Yeah, and I only played BFA for the last couple months before. I think I played it a little bit at the very beginning, and then a little bit at the very end, right before Shadowlands came out, so that I could play Shadowlands, and I just didn't like Shadowlands. But the Drustvar, let's. Agony. That song's gonna be stuck in my head all night. Drustvar. You know, this map looks familiar, to be honest. the place itself doesn't, but it looks like it's got some of that like eerie like werewolf slash Victorian era ish kind of like vibe to it. Is that what you mean? That was so cool and so spooky. Looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. Did I just get another buff? Is that re-up on my rallying cry? It was. It was on a buff that I don't need. Alright. So my idea was that I was going to kind of watch the side a little bit here to maybe get a buff or two. Or like sell some water or something. Sell a port, but I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest. Too immersed in the videos. So this is a little more than a year ago, like a year and 1 day ago. Mad Season wanted to talk about the Burning Crusade, and I believe he did a poll to see what people were interested in terms of like fresh servers or the way that they are going to handle the transition.
Back with another video for you. So, big news on the Classic front recently. Ever since the Cataclysm expansion released and the old world was lost forever, players have been pining for an official re-release of Classic. And now that that's out, players have been pining for an official re-release of the Burning Crusade.
You are not prepared.
Doo-doo.
The big idea is that the game will go down one of three directions after the release of the final raid, Nextramus. Either A, nothing will happen and the game will stagnate. B, they'll work on completely new content for Classic, such as new raids and dungeons, commonly referred to as Classic Plus. Or C, they'll do the same thing they did with Classic with the Burning Crusade. Well, very
That's
recently,
what we got.
We got a hint
Well,
of
we're
an
going
answer
to get.
as Blizzard sent out some surveys to
That's why I
players
like it.
about
Yes,
the latter
yeah, that
option,
doesn't look pretty cool.
the Burning Crusade, asking them if they would play a re-release of the expansion, and if so, how should they implement it. Now, nothing is confirmed yet, of course, but this does bode well for those looking for the Burning Crusade, as it wouldn't be the first time we got a sneak peek of the future through these surveys, long before the Shadowlands announcement.
So, I'm not going to exactly talk about what the content was of a survey, but I literally just took a survey yesterday, my first survey that Blizzard's ever sent me, and I got like 11 questions in, and it was all just kind of like, what kind of games are you interested in, and what kind, like, how old are you? And I got to question 11, and it was like, you have not been selected to take this survey. And I was thinking in my mind, like, how do you feel like you're going to get accurate results from your polls if you are biased and limit the people who are going to be filling out your polls. And it was right after I answered a question where it said, how do you feel about World of Warcraft Classic's current state? And there was 3 options. One of them was it's on its way down. The middle one, the one that I selected, was it's holding ground, and that's because I felt like it was. It's a little bit of a resurgence maybe from the announcement of TBC. And then the last one was it's on its way up. And so I answered the middle one, and instantly it kicked me out of the survey. It's like, no, we don't want your answers. You're middle of the line. You're not gonna be giving us any like good information, I guess. And I was like, man, that is some really biased survey taking, and it makes me really question. Like, I already knew that they didn't fully listen to the community, and their views and thoughts were a little skewed from what the player base is. But man, that really cemented my thought in them being just extremely biased. I mean, I followed the link again and answered just that one question different, saying that I thought it was on the way down, because it is. Like it has been. I read it again, and it said in your last 30 days of play, how do you feel about this? And I was like, okay, well, my last 30 days of play was back in December, and I felt like it was on the way down. So I changed my answer, and yes, it let me go through and finish out the other 20 questions or something like that. And I just thought it was really funny. What's going on here? Shoelace poker. What? Let's see. I want to buy UC port. See, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I'm going to invite him. He's already going to be... Oh, he actually joined. I was super slow on that. I figured someone else was going to beat me to it. You ready for this 1 gold? Oh, 2 gold. Wow. Big spender. Man. 2 gold closer to my epic mount. Wait. Looking for fiery enchant. Oh, snap. Ah, he's already in a group. Okay, never mind. All right, back to... Wait. Alt tab.
One survey asked about
You
the idea
mainly
of the
play
level
Horde?
squish.
Yeah, so... Back in the day, I did play Classic. I only played to like level 30 or something like that. But I played Alliance because I didn't know anyone that played other than my father. And it was actually on his account that I made a character. And I believe I played to like level 30. I didn't play a lot mostly because I only was able to play when I was at his house, and I was only at his house every other weekend. But I played Alliance, and I played Night Elf Hunter. That's what I played, and I was interested in playing Alliance, and it wasn't until I came back to the game and started playing it with some of my IRL friends, like my cousin and some of his friends, and some of the people that I'd met at school that played, that I started playing Horde, and that was just because that's where all of them played. And I didn't care because I had the option to play Blood Elf, and outside of Classic, I've basically always played a Blood Elf, so I mean, I don't know. I think they're the coolest race in the game. So I'm not too worried about it. I personally don't care much for the aesthetic of the Horde. I don't really care for this wild outlands, wasteland type thematic and theme lore base, but it's whatever. I don't know. When Silver Moon comes out, I'll just spend all my time there. Just kidding. I'll probably still be in Orgrimmar. Good old Orgrimmar.
And lo and behold, at BlizzCon last year, it was announced the Shadowlands pre-patch would bring just that. I also did some analysis of the release dates as well. Classic released in August of last year, and if you go by raid tiers, we got Blackwing Lair 5-ish months later in February. For major raids, we of course have 2 more, and that's AQ40 and Extremis. And assuming that we also have a 4 to 5-ish month wait between these raids as well, that means we'll get Phase 6 and an Extremis around November or December of this year.
Pretty close.
Which lines
I don't
up
remember the
perfectly
exact
with BlizzCon.
AQ,
So, assuming that Nax is out by then,
but
and Classic is
we
quite
got
finished,
Nax in December.
what better time than BlizzCon to announce the Burning Crusade Classic? That would
It's
be
true,
the perfect
and they did that.
opportunity, as you'd be
But
able to retain
wasn't
as many
BlizzCon
players as
delayed like 6 weeks? Isn't it normally in late November, early December, and it was in February? It was mid-February. Why did it get pushed back so far? I don't know.
possible by announcing it on the big stage and addressing that elephant of the room, which is that stagnation. The stage seems to be set, and it lines up suspiciously well. Don't get too far ahead of yourself, but if that's a sign of things to come, all of you BC fans may find that pretty encouraging. However, the logistics behind a BC re-release and how to handle the transfer has been discussed at length between the players.
COVID, maybe that's what I thought. I thought maybe they were
option
thinking of
one by
having
one.
it in person
So first,
and then decided to change it
we have all
because of
existing
COVID.
servers going to the Burning Crusade, and players are given the option of transferring off to a permanent Classic server that never progresses past 60. And on the flip side, we have
Of course, that's the
opposite.
option that was picked.
All servers remain Classic, and you never go past 60, and you have the option of transferring to servers that will progress to the Burning Crusade. And last
So, with the clone feature so you can choose for each of your characters to either progress to a Burning Crusade server or to stay on a Classic server, and if you want to do both, you have to pay for a service fee. You have to pay a service fee to do so. I've seen screenshots of people's surveys where they say that they were prompted for a $10 transfer fee and how interested they would be in how many characters they'd plan on doing the copy feature with if it was $10. And then I also saw screenshots for $40. And that is such a big difference. Like, I would maybe consider leaving my mage on a Classic server for $10 just to have all the stuff that I have on the character now and just kind of like a relic. But $40? Who in the world is going to spend $40 for that? That's why they also delayed Shadowlands. Yeah, I think that they delay Shadowlands just because of the mere fact that the logistics of development from everyone playing or working remotely is just it's just not as good for productivity. It was supposed to release in late October, but it got delayed to November, which I think for personally that hurts my raid team quite a bit because people were wanting to go play that Shadowlands instead of Classic. And I think there was one like release week, I believe a couple of the really hardcore Shadowlands retail players decided not to raid with us that week. I wasn't ready. You were not prepared.
Lastly, we have 2 more options. Completely new BC servers where you start at level 1, or completely new BC servers where you start at level 58. So,
level 58. The boosts are so bad. So bad.
interesting choices here.
I'm already upset because of how bad the economy is on my server, but it's just going to be so bad when everyone can when all the botters can just boost their way to
They'll
58.
have their ups and downs naturally. Now, anyone who plays Classic will tell you that the community is a big part of the game.
Olympus
It can
11.
be really toxic, that's for sure. But regardless, a big part. You see the same people over and over, and recognize players that you like and players that you can't stand. So naturally,
Yeah, that's going to be I don't see the classic realms being fruitful in any way. Like they wanted to keep the communities together, so there wasn't going to be like a creation of a bunch of new servers that were classic and you would transfer to that and you'd be potentially with other people from different realms, because the logistics of naming conventions would suck, but B, I think that they didn't want to fragment the communities, which I think that there could have been a simple solution for names. You just, everyone's name is their name hyphen 2 letters of their, or 1 or 2 letters of their original server they were from. And I don't know, I don't see that there being enough people actively playing classic and staying or transferring their characters to the classic version of realms to, like, for them to be meaningful. I don't know. I guess time will tell, but it's not good for those who want to stay classic. I would be upset if I wanted to just stay permanent classic.
And so on and so forth. I mean, come on. We're talking about a community that has nuclear meltdowns over blob shadows and doxes each other over ninja looting. Before we get into the pros and cons of each option, I think the most important thing is to give the player the choice, which they seem to be in line with because, after all, this is a survey. So let's just acknowledge the fact that this could be something that they could just force on people, but they're being mindful of what the players actually want, which is a good thing. Each one
they're giving
tricky,
them the
though.
illusion
Starting
of
with one here, the pro of this option
marketing
is that
tactics, giving people the illusion that that's what we're doing, but really the whole time we were just going to do the first option. I played classic, but I have to say I'm so used to retail. No collection of pets, no mounts at low level, no in-game quest helper, no dungeon raid finder. Yeah, and sadly all the things you just named are things that I don't enjoy. Like, I get there are people who play that and they're accustomed to it, but I personally I don't like those things. I know that they aren't for some people and they are for others, and I'm not going to tell anyone how they should have fun, but for me, I enjoy when the game, you would see someone with a piece of loot, like they're wearing it, and you just be like, man, that guy's got so and so armor piece, or wow, that person has a Thunder Fury, and it was meaningful because the person actually got it. It wasn't just some cosmetic for transmog that they overlapped. Just stuff like that.
The original launch of the expansion.
In Classic, I really enjoyed finding groups and going to the dungeons. It made the whole experience feel more wholesome, I guess you could say. My BF either. Q likes Classic better. Classic's good. Classic. Every game's got its downsides, but I think Classic has a lot of ups. At least for me. At least for someone who plays it. I mostly play games for the social atmosphere that the game provides. It's less about the game itself and more about my friends and who's playing it. Like, I played Fortnite for way too long just because that's what all my friends were playing. They all enjoyed Fortnite, and that was the hit game of the time, and I wasn't all that great, but I was totally fine because it was hanging out with my friends. I've had this conversation with like my parents and stuff like that, and they're like why are you downstairs playing video games? Why aren't you out? It's a Friday or Saturday night. Why aren't you out at the golf range or out bowling with your friends? What are you doing here? And I'm like, for me, gaming online and talking to my friends is the same thing. Like, for you back in the day, going out to the mall would be the same thing as gamers' option to hang out in Discord and play video games together. The look in both their eyes when it finally clicked that they were like, wow, that actually makes sense. I was like, well, yeah. If anything, I'm
No
more
summon.
social than you were.
You're on an established server. The Burning Crusade launches, and that's it.
Looks horrible.
That's how it worked back in the day. And if you like Classic and you don't want to be a part
Wait.
of these,
Wait. Yep. This whole like paying attention and trying to find people to help enchant and to sell ports to it's not working whatsoever. I get that. I got into WoW because of my BF, and it was an awesome experience. I like WoW. I don't so much like some portions of the current game because it just makes me feel like I'm doing chores to do the things I actually want to do, which is play dungeons with my friends. But hey, I mean, the game's current systems have a lot for people who enjoy those kinds of systems, like the anima stuff where you fill up your covenants. Is it called anima? I think it's called anima, where you fill up your covenants and you expand your covenant, and you really feel like you as a player are progressing something. I mean, granted, it takes a really long time, but you feel like you're progressing something. So like, I can see where that has its own merit, but that just wasn't the thing I wanted to do when playing the game, and I had to do I had to jump through all those other little hoops and fill up all those little, I don't know, I guess you could call them bars every day, every week in order to do the things that I wanted to do. Or else I couldn't play with my friends because my item level was just so much lower than theirs that I would be hindering them by going and trying to do a mythic 8 or 9 with them because my item level was so low, and it just snowballed. I was like, I didn't want to do it one week where I was like, man, I don't want to go do dailies. Like, I'd rather go play Classic. And it just snowballed. Once I was behind in item level, then I just continued to be behind, and eventually all of them stopped playing. And that's my retail experience. My Shadowlands experience, at least. But I feel like it's been the last couple of expansions where they have similar-ish systems that just make me feel that way.
we have the option of transferring off to a server with like-minded people.
Which I guess you could say the same thing exists in Classic. If you're all wearing greens instead of blues and wearing bisque gear, then you're not going to be doing as much damage for raids and stuff like that. Then you're not going to be helping the team. You're going to be a little bit of a hindrance. But I don't know. I feel like there's more of an achievable goal in mind and sight that you can see and work towards in Classic, where that I didn't feel that way in retail. Anytime I log into retail, I just feel super confused, and I feel like all of the systems I'm supposed to be doing or whatever to play optimally, I just don't understand why I need to do them. And I feel like I spend more time on Wowhead researching what all the systems are than actually playing the game, and that just makes me sad. Oh no, WoW is World of Grindcraft right now. I got a little tired of it. And yeah, I can see that. No, that's why I stopped playing Shadowlands. So the Chronicle, the dog's moving around. You okay, Tim? The chronology of my experience in the last couple months was I played Classic, I played a little bit of Shadowlands. We played a couple weeks, maybe just 2 or 3 times trying on the first week of Naxxramas, and then our guild decided to disband. And then I played a little bit more Shadowlands. And then what I said, I got tired of filling out the daily grind stuff that I didn't want to do. And then I stopped playing games for a little while until I started up my YouTube channel. And now I've been playing different kind of games here and there. And that reminds me, I need to find, Steam, a game called Northgard, which is, it's like a hybrid RTS / strategy game, is on sale, and I wanted to check that out. It's an older game, and I've been trying to just play newer games to kind of capitalize on the hype, but let's see. Oh, and recently I played Castle Crashers. If anyone has not played this game, I recommend you try it out. This game is amazing. Castle Crashers for life. I knew there was a weird way to get to your wish list. Northgard. How long do I have for this sale? April 6th. Okay, so I've got a little bit of time to mull it over. Kind of an interesting looking game. Strategy game that feels sort of like an RTS game, but yeah. Kind of reminds me of Be Castled. Why have I got notifications? It's Hard Work 5150. Well, thanks for the subscription, the subscribe, the follow. Too many words. There are two things that would get me back into the game, and that would be for Blizzard to let us queue for classic dungeons all the way to 60. And second, I know you don't like it, but flying. Flying. Hey, so the Burning Crusade comes out with flying. If that's one of the two things that would, okay. I'm about to, what did I just break? Or lose? What did I just lose? I broke and or lost something. It was my phone. And it's still, no, come on. Okay. The phone somehow fell out of my pocket. And decided that it was going to slide in between my chair and the armrest. Okay. So I feel like I have to go full screen to blow your mind hole here. Yes, I said mind hole. I don't. If that has any sort of weird meaning, I'm sorry, but I said it. The Burning Crusade, which we don't have a current release date for, but people are talking about early June. They're saying like one month, 6 weeks of beta, and then 1 month, 6 weeks of 1 month or 6 weeks of pre-patch, which at that point in time, this might also apply, but you can get a boost up to level 58, so you won't even have to queue for classic dungeons. And then 2, once you hit 66, 64, there's 2 different levels of flying in the Burning Crusade, and I don't know the level that you get each of them at, but they are options. They are there. The 2 things holding you back from playing classic, you didn't see my air quotes, will be in the game for the upcoming Burning Crusade release. Anyways, there's my talking head rant. Someone invited me to a chat group on Reddit. What? I didn't even know that was a thing. That's a thing?
The
There's
downside
Reddit chat
is
groups?
what I just mentioned. If Current has taught us anything, it's that the community is a very fragile
Transfers
thing.
hurt
When you
communities.
start introducing things like transfers, it can get hairy. Let's say your server has a super active raiding and PvP scene and people are playing all the time, and you like playing Classic, and then the day comes, and maybe 90% of the players went to BC, including your
I see it
guild
happening.
and most of your friends, and Ironforge goes from
Talk
this
about all your
to
friends.
this.
Hold
Option
up.
2.
UC. I meant retail, lol, but I will consider it. Sounds enticing. Is there not? Oh, I see what you're saying. Because retail, you don't get flying until you've like completed all of the content, if I'm not mistaken, which I might be. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, in retail you can't get flying until you've essentially reached some achievement, which is usually like exploring all of the world and getting exalted with all of the different factions or something like that.
2, again, is to keep the servers the same, but give the option to transfer off. It's the same idea here. a possible mass exodus of players from Classic to BC, and you're left with a fraction of the amount of players that you used to have in Classic.
Which is going to happen.
Another downside of both of these options is that there's presumably no turning back, as these
That's
are
why they
transfers
entered.
and not copies.
That's
If you
why they
transfer
created the copy feature, and they're going to charge people for it.
off, you transfer off. This makes the volatility in the
Looking for port to TB. Invite. Too slow.
community even worse, because if there were copies, you'd always have that door open and being able to maybe play both if you wanted to. You'd of course have to combat duping gold and items with copies though, which would be tricky. The only way I know of off the top of my head is for Blizzard to copy the entire server of characters themselves. If you put it in the players' hands, they'll 100% exploit it if they can.
People
For
will
option
always
3, we
exploit
have
whatever they
completely
can.
new servers where you start at level 1, assuming that existing servers would be capped at 60 still. A pro of this method is you don't directly fiddle with the community on existing servers, as those characters would be untouched, and players could always go back if they wanted to. A downside though is that it indirectly affects the community. You're not losing actual characters on these realms, but there still will be a large percentage of players that on launch
So
will never
thirsty
play Classic
today.
again, even though they do have the option of going back. Nothing can really be done about that,
I'm
though,
about to
as
give
it's
up
a
on.
problem that's tied more to the
We're doing
release of BC itself, rather than the method of transitioning from Classic to BC. And another downside is that it wouldn't be as accurate of an experience. In the original launch, we of course had full vanilla raiding gear, a stockpile of gold for some, rare mounts or items, and it's a similar story for starting at level 58. You just don't have to grind as much. I personally prefer that if they go down this route, you start at level 1, because level 58s kind of get into that territory of level boosts. I'm aware that you don't pay for it, but still, there's just something wrong with clicking a button and spawning
If
level
only
58, I think. I know that
Mad
content
Season
is mainly
knew.
aimed for BC,
If
but
only
you get
he
a lot of
knew
level 58. Any profession for one. A lot of this stuff is still
a
good
year
for
ago
BC. Tanks still use Thunder
he would
Fury,
lose
so
his
you can get all
shit,
the Arcanite you want.
which he did, and then he
You can
uploaded
slap
an
badge with Moonpaw.
hour-long video about
Plus,
boost.
this would result in every single zone under 58 to be completely dead, which
Yep.
just isn't healthy. The old world is still important, and
It's
starting
World
at
of
58 would
Warcraft,
make
not the World of
everything but the
Outlands.
Outland barren for the most part. Maybe a solution to this would be to make it a one-time thing, and any alts you level would start from 1. So, like I said, there's a lot to consider. It's not as simple as just releasing the Burning Crusade, and honestly, I think it's a hard choice. All of these pros and cons are pretty close to each other in my book. I think
Yeah,
if it were
there's-
possible, it
There
would
is
be
no
best if we
real
got
best
copies
way.
instead
I
of
think that what they
transfers.
chose is the best
So, for
way.
example,
But
we have Fairlena Classic, and then Blizzard copies every character, and then we have Fairlena BC.
I'm
and that
pretty
way
sure
you
that's what
don't
they're
burn
going
that
to do.
bridge to Classic forever. This is also the best
Oh,
option
no.
for maintaining the community as well, I think.
That's not what they're doing.
The first two options, you have a choice. Either you maintain your established communities for
Yeah.
Classic or BC. Not
I was talking
both.
about the server
And
thing.
with
I
3
think
and
that
4,
your
the
character
community
would
basically
exist on
starts
both
from
with the same
scratch.
name, but it would
Whereas
just
with
be like
copies, your entire community remains in Classic,
on that
and your
server.
entire community moves on to the BC in one piece. I guess a downside with this is that you'd basically be doubling the number of servers, which again gets into
Believe
that
that's what they're
issue
doing.
of are there enough players to support both Classic and BC. All I can say is that
There's
if I was
not.
capable of emotion,
There definitely
it's
is not
definitely
enough players to
people always ask Classic Plus
have
versus Burning
an active
Crusade.
community in
And
both.
even though I'd play either, I've always said I'd prefer BC because I want a shot at actual progression rating. I played BC, but I was one of those people who played vanilla so much, I kind of burnt out and played BC casually. I also had lots of big life stuff happen
Low
to me,
key
so I've
hello.
always felt like I missed out
Now,
on the real experience.
Is that a low key
I think it
hello,
would come at a cost though.
or is that
Classic has
just
been
a
doing
hello?
great in my opinion, but I don't know if it would survive a Burning Crusade release. Blizzard got a huge amount of new subscribers with Classic.
Hey, what's up?
But I feel like most people who want a Classic style of MMO are playing Classic right now. I think the jump in subs would be very minor in comparison to when they released Classic. I think it would really cannibalize their own player base, and you definitely see some servers die. I think there would always be a few Classic servers rolling.
It's interesting going
Start
back
rolling
and
out BC or even RAS.
seeing what people like Mad Season have to say about the current situation a year ago.
Later on or whatever.
And I mean,
I'm
a
still
lot of
waiting
them
for that
were
Draenor
pretty on the
Classic.
money on
You're spreading that community
the
pretty
outcome
thin,
of what
and
was
for
going to
BC be
happen.
successful, it may require that Classic fails. The idea of re-rolling and starting fresh
But
is something
it's amazing that a year ago a large majority of the topics of, hey, is the community on each side, the Classic community and the Burning Crusade community, are they both going to thrive? Or is there going to be enough player base in order to sustain both sides? And I'm not 100% on this, but I'm pretty sure all of the realms are going to remain. All of the players who choose to go and play on a Classic realm are going to remain on a version of Classic that is just players from their realm. So, I mean, as you can imagine, a large portion of people are going to move on and play TBC. So I just don't see the player base for the Classic server, unless they merge them together, being very sustainable.
It's always really appealing to people, and if they go down the BC route, it'll basically be a great but stagnant game versus a fresh new start, and I think the player base would take a ginormous hit. Current and Classic can kind of live together since they're so different at this point. Current, of course, having 15 years of development added to it. It's almost a symbiotic relationship because they fill different niches, but Classic and BC are so similar, I think, that I'm not sure how many people would really find the time to play both consistently.
I don't think there are going to be many people, except for the true diehards, that are going to play both in a matter that is more than just casually. Like I could see some people maintaining, if there's enough people to maintain a guild or a raid roster in Classic, then I could see some of those people raid logging, and they only play Classic just to raid with the people from that raid group. But I don't see anyone playing both of them like super actively. So are they going to release Wrath next? I mean, with the success of Classic and the fact that I do see a resurgence of players happening for the Burning Crusade, maybe even more than vanilla, because I've heard some people just didn't play Classic at all. They've been waiting for the Burning Crusade, and they're going to actually use the boost. I mean, this is all hearsay, but I have heard there's some pretty good reason that there might be a bigger surge for the Burning Crusade than there was for Classic. And because of that, I mean, if Blizzard makes enough money re-releasing old games that they don't have to really spend all that much time and resources for the development team, then yeah, I could see them releasing Wrath again, a Classic version of Wrath come 2 years from now, 2 years from BC, because and I kind of I guess you could say saw this coming. I thought it would be like in Blizzard's best interest to have essentially a new game release every year, one like rotating back and forth. So they have a Classic game release one year, and then the next year they have the next addition to the retail game, and so on and so forth, just alternating back and forth, kind of like how you used to see different Call of Duty development studios. So they would release a game every year, but it was a different studio releasing the game every other year. And so you'd have two different lines. You had like the Black Ops series and the Modern Warfare series, and I could definitely see them doing that, and I don't see any reason why not to. I mean, I would like to re-experience Wrath as well. It sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, there's things I don't like, and like dungeon finders, and I think that's really just my big complaint is dungeon finders. But that's a whole nother can of worms.
The But then again,
Worms
what's the alternative?
everywhere.
Inaction? How many people do...
Man, I really dislike plagued ground area. Is that weird? I don't know. I don't like it. Gives me the heebie-jeebies or whatever you want to
Do
say.
you think the post-Nextramus stagnation would retain? I mean, I could play Classic forever.
Especially
love
little
for it can be-
boils like this. I'm not about it. I've got something that people call trypophobia. Here, I'll search it. Trypophobia. All right, so I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to invert my own eyes because I hate it. I hate it so much. It's like it's a fear of like a cluster, and I looked over at my OBS, and it still had it. It's like a fear of like a cluster of small holes, and it I start thinking of like eggs and larvae and things implanting themselves inside. I'm out. I'm not about it.
Irrational to the normal person. Just slightly, though. I'm sure that this will be debated ad nauseum for the next several months. And I'm sure that Blizzard themselves will be looking at how things progress and go from there. Feel free to share your thoughts, either about BC as a whole, or my thoughts on the pros and cons if you agree or disagree. One thing that's for sure is that feedback...
What are Baddington's lost VHS tapes? What a trypophobia is no joke. Fix your goddamn game.
It's more important now.
I don't know what Baddington's lost VHS tapes are. So I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to pass. gonna have to pass on reacting to those, because A, it could be against terms of service, and B, it probably is, because it's lost VHS tapes and it's probably copyright, and which will end the stream. Search it up. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
So think about it.
We're checking out Burning Crusade stuff.
My goal with this video is to hopefully shed some light on each option. So
I come into this and this is what you're looking at, holes in hands, dude.
As for me,
it came up
really
because
sure
of Eastern Plague Lands, and just the fact that the land's just plagued, and there's holes everywhere and boils, and I just hate it. I hate it. I have trypophobia, and I hate it. And then
it's exciting.
And then I triggered myself because I hit it, but then I looked over at my OBS and it was still there.
People ecstatic over this, and others furious. If there's one thing that the Classic community has taught me, it's that everyone's pissed.
Everyone is pissed. All right, I'll search it up on my other screen. Baddingtons. Gotcha. It's one of those videos that have a scare tactic in it, where all of a sudden something pops up and scares you. You almost got me. You almost got me there. No more. No, I am not going to look at any more trypophobic things. That's nuh-uh. I'm out. Thank you. Yeah, I looked it up. You almost got me. You almost got me. I will give you props on that one. So I love Force Gaming, but his videos just aren't very in depth. Warrior in Burning Crusade Classic, is it any better now? Any better? No. Not as bad as other people think? Yeah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. With TBC
Willie.
it's
Willie.
about time we did a little bit of a class update. Let's take a look back at each class in the Burning Crusade.
There's
their
lore in
performance overall,
Grubhub
and hopefully
3D
help you
animated
make a good
ads.
choice moving forwards. We will be looking at what's new in terms of talents and abilities, leveling, PvE.
What? Did you know there's lore in Grubhub 3D animated ads? Sounds like you don't love him enough. I don't even play Warriors. How do I know? Because I know that in Classic Warriors are really good, and I know that they are not the best class in Burning Crusade. I know that they're not as well. I don't know for sure, but a lot of the time things get really blown out of proportion, and I don't think Warriors are as bad as people make them out to be. People love to play telephone, and things get jumbled over time, and people are like, "Oh, Warriors aren't as good." Oh, and then the next person goes along and says, "Warriors aren't good," and then the next thing you know, Warriors are trash. Warriors suck. It's just not true. Go to Food Theory. He made a video about Grubhub 3D animated ads. What? There's Grubhub commercials? Blowing my mind, dude. He made a video about it. Let's duel and I'll show you Warriors do suck. Well, yeah, against mages. Come on. Come on. You charge me once and then you lose the game. I freeze you in place. I crit you with 2 frostbolts. And then you charge me again. I don't know how long the cooldown is on charge, but I pop Cold Snap and I Frost Nova you again in place. And I repeat the cycle. And if things aren't going my way, I polymorph you and drink to reset the fight. Pornhub 3D animated ads. Come on. Nah.
Who's the new king of the meter? PvP has much changed, and tier sets which actually exist for every specialization now. And through this, I hope to answer.
Except I've heard that tier sets for Paladin suck.
Is your class any better now?
Well, for Rep Paladins, I apologize. Wait. What's this disclaimer? Class info based on 2.4.3 final patch, which I believe is what they're using, will mention if a big change is from a later patch. There was a gnome hidden somewhere in the intro. Good luck. Oh, God. Okay, we gotta find the gnome now. Where are they sending you? I'm not looking. It's like trypophobia. I'm not looking. Okay, there's a gnome. Okay, hold on. There's a gnome somewhere in the intro. We gotta find it. Except for the first theory, so don't watch that. What? I don't see a gnome. Wait. Was the gnome in the Fel Reaver?
Ladies and gentlemen.
There's a high chance the gnome was in the Fel Reaver.
TBC confirmed, it's about time we
Crypt
did a little bit of
Stalker.
a class update. Let's take a look back at each class in the Burning Crusade, their performance overall, and hopefully...
Is that hidden? Is that hidden?
help you
I
make
feel like
your
that's not the
choice
one he's
moving
talking about.
forwards. We will be looking at what's new in terms of talents and abilities, leveling, PvE, who's the new king of the meter.
I'm all looking in the
PvP has
background.
much changed, and tier
And
sets which actually exist for every specialization now. And through this, I hope to answer:
It's
is
a
your
cool
class
set.
any better now.
Was that the gnome? Did I find the gnome? Wait. Was it
Short
literally right
class,
here? Look up here in the top
any
left,
better
top right
now?
corner. We found it. We found it. Yes, might be because they are good engineers. It's true. I found the gnome, man. It was like just barely at the very.
Outland,
So
no doubt
that's pretty tricky. He made you rewatch the entirety of the intro to the video to find the gnome right
this'll
before
be
the
just
disclaimer.
as much of a joke as Classic was for me. Full Phase 6 Bis Fury Warrior looking for Guild. Warlock LFG. I haven't played since Phase 2, but I've shadow
Wanna
bought
play
on 3
MTG?
separate keybinds. Yep, over here.
Yeah, let's
welcome.
play.
Come this
Let's
way,
play Magic
this way.
sometime, bro.
I must have posted in the wrong channel. Let me try that again. Full Phase 6 Abyss
Yeah, it's
Fury
pretty funny.
Warrior looking for Guild. Hunter need Guild. I just boosted to 58 and I don't really know what I'm doing, but I've got that macro that make Mr. Kitty go brrrr. Oh, right over
Brr.
here, right
Brr.
this way, over here, sir. What
What?
the?
What?
Hey, I see you're recruiting.
dog
that. Do
did
you
not
need a
like me
Fury
making
Warrior?
that sound.
I was the top passer on the server in Phase 6, and I'd love to, but we're full on melee. Sorry about that. Good luck on the search, though. But you only have 3 non-tank melee in the entire raid. Yep, sorry, hands are tied here. You know, we're full. It is how it is. Oh my god.
Warrior mains. They pissed. But sadly, this is the way that it's going to feel for those warrior mains. They're going to be, because of the way that people are playing the game and they're playing this hyper optimized, just really optimized and poor. I don't know. I said a lot about it in the video that I released today. The way that people are playing the game, they're just following what everyone else is doing, and it's just this meta slave thing that warriors are going to get the shit end of the stick. It's just like how rep paladins and boomkins just got the short end of the stick during classic. Yeah, they were not as good as the other classes, but the stigma that is just that they were horrible. So make the kitty go burr or purr. Yeah, I don't know. It was like burr. It started with like a B.
Let me in!
He wants back into classic.
Today, through the dark portal.
I feel that so hard. I have no idea how to transition the actual video, so please subscribe. I ran into that 2 times today in the creation of the video that I made today, and finally I just went with my third take that was just a one shot all the way through and called it a day. Now I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna be a pump. That's what I'm saying,
Today,
bro.
through the dark portal
Don't
is
let
the
this
most
stigma
popular class in Classic by far, and
like
I mean by
pull you
far.
down, bro.
When it comes to all-around performance,
That's a cool
in
sword.
PvP,
See, Sir Caleb, Mr. Warrior, you could be rocking this awesome lion. What's it called? I think it's called Lionheart sword. Look how cool that thing is. Look at it.
and especially PvE, there is quite literally no better.
And I think that's called Storm Herald. There are
choice
some
than the
cool
warrior.
weapons.
Warrior?
The warrior class.
Yes, that. Out of a possible 8 classes to pick,
It's
for
like
each
I ain't
faction at
playing
the
shit.
moment,
Oh,
the
come
raiding
on.
population on nearly every single server is 20% warrior.
I wasn't part
Bots
of that
included, of course, but
second
yeah,
majority
the
class
is pretty
played.
good. Best tank, best DPS, scales exceptionally well, really fun to
Mog
play with a
material.
constant flow of
It's
rage
true.
and ability spam. Who doesn't like seeing themselves at the top of the meters after all? So does this trend carry over to TBC? Well, not
Meters.
exactly, no. Warrior
I love the
was
way
really
that
brought much more in line.
people with
That
different
doesn't,
accents
however, mean
say
they go
words
from being
differently.
literally the best at everything they can do to the worst. Far from it. It's just their legacy of dominance was taken back.
Sir,
quite a
your
few
shoulders
steps,
are on
and
fire.
deservedly so, I would say. Since when does one class get to be the best for an entire duration of a game in an MMO? Well, normal MMOs anyway. Classic is a bit
Warriors through all of Classic.
of a special case. And just a side note for the class, you really can make of it what you want.
And I mean, Isn't it warlocks through all of TBC?
Back when I was doing the Was It Any Good Though videos,
What the? Is that part of the helmet? What am I looking at?
I'd say some
I'm
classes were
scared.
not so good on performance, and I would have people in the comments saying, but wait, back in my day, I was always top DPS on my boomkin doing my ZG pugs. I mean, that says a lot about the pugs, but yeah, if that's good enough for you, then...
I was always at the top of the meters playing boomkin in my ZG pugs. Man, who were you playing ZG pugs with?
Fine. I'm just trying to give a good impression of what you can expect from the class. After all, people like to perform well. That's why the top 2 play classes on almost every server are Warrior Mage at the moment. With that said, let's get into this. What's new for the Warrior then? Lots of new additions to utility, that's what. Rage generation was changed a bit. As far as I know, this should be correct for 2.0.
Just makes me think of something that Asmon said. He says, man, I hate when they add utility to my warrior class. You know why? Because that means it's not a damage ability that they added, and it's... What do you say? He said something about the fact that it made it so people expected him to do more than just damage. It just made me laugh so hard. Because I really like Asmon's views on a lot of things, but when it comes to the warrior class, his opinions are so jaded and biased. Like, it can be every other class can go to hell and die as long as the warrior class is the winner of all. It just makes me laugh because his insights on a lot of like actual like gameplay stuff is I agree with for the most part, but when he's just talking about the warrior class, man,
any more information
he
on
is
the
so
subject.
jaded.
Actual normalization of rage gain wasn't a thing till Kata, by the way. I've seen that commented quite a few times. Also, the heroic strike queuing should still be working too, also not removed till Cataclysm, as heroic strike was made an instant attack then, not a next melee attack. A new shout was added. Commanding shout gives your party a bunch of extra health. It's
Cool.
either this or battle shout, by the way, so make sure you keep the right one up. Victory Rush was also a thing in TBC. It doesn't heal like it does in later expansions though, but it doesn't have any rage cost, so a free bit of extra damage whilst leveling, or to get resets
What?
in PvE.
It's just a free damage attack for warriors? Straight buff? I don't want to hear any
Something,
complaining
I guess.
warriors.
Intervene was another addition. You may be noticing a trend here. Not much new on the damage front, is there? It's like charge or intercept, but for an ally, redirecting the next melee or ranged attack. Only usable in defensive stance.
It's too bad there's a 30-second cooldown because it'd be kind of cool seeing people ping pong back and forth. I mean, it's got to be balanced for like
Pretty
PvP
solid,
and stuff,
can be
but
good in
that
PvE
would
to
be
get
pretty
back in
funny.
range of an enemy when someone decides they want to run away from the tank instead of towards them when they get aggro. You know who
That
you
really
are.
pisses
And
off
is
tanks.
a very high skill cap ability in PvP, which can hard counter some CC setups. Speaking about PvP, spell reflection. Something
I wonder if you can activate that in the middle of a
to
sap.
keep you alive
Oh,
against
I guess a warrior would be activating it to an ally that's sapped. That's
those
what it
pesky
is.
mages. Well, perhaps for one additional global. It's a good
Spell
ability,
reflection.
kind of easily telegraphed though, as the warrior has to put
Oh,
on the
hell
sword
no.
in order to use it. In PvE,
You telling
it
me
gives
that
you a
warriors
button
are going to be
press against
reflecting
casters, those some harder
spells?
hitting effects from bosses, or
Not
just
playing
prevent
mage.
the damage but not actually reflect the spell, unfortunately. Finally, whilst not a new active ability, it's pretty good, so I'll give it a mention. That is Stance Mastery. So you know how without Tactical Mastery, changing stances feels
Oh, is that just a
completely terrible as your
baseline?
rage is
Okay,
reset
that's
to
cool.
0? The prop Fury
See,
players at the
I don't think warriors are as bad as people
moment will know.
people make them out
Either
to
way,
be.
with this new passive, you get to keep 10 rage when you change stance. Pretty good. Tactical Mastery still exists too, and stacks with this, though it's been downgraded from 25 rage kept to 15. Leveling then. I'll tell you what, I thought leveling as a warrior was gonna be terrible in Classic. And to be honest, the early levels kind of felt like you're role-playing a level 15 NPC that has about one meaningful ability. But once you get through some levels, you pick up sweeping strikes, well...
I think all classes feel that way. Like, as a mage, you don't even start with Fireball. You don't get that till you're like level 4. Level 7? I don't know exactly. I think all abilities are even levels. But I don't know. I remember being confused when I logged in and I was like, why do I only have Frostbolt? Or was it
More
you only
to
have
the story,
Fireball?
the
I don't know,
class
it's been
really
so
comes
long.
alive, and it's a lot of fun. Admittedly, I did level as much as I could with world buffs, and even in TBC, they will still work up to level 63,
Screw world buffs.
though I wouldn't really expect Oni to be getting reset or dropped multiple times a day anymore as people move onto the new content, or, you know, just boost past the whole thing. But with Victory Rush more readily available,
Man, I am super excited for pre-patch because so originally when the Burning Crusade released, there was pre-patch, but you didn't have the new class updates, and you didn't have the new races available during the pre-patch, which is what they're going to do for the pre-patch this time for the classic version of the game. So you're gonna have this really cool weird meta that has never existed before, and I say meta in the instance of just state of the game. So you're gonna have this really weird, cool, interesting state of the game where everyone's still level 60. Blood Elves, Draenei are both going to be available to be played. Granted, you're gonna have to level them up, but in addition, all of the specs and classes that don't seem very useful in Classic right now are going to have their day in the sun for that month to 6 weeks or whatever it is, where you might see prop paladins doing some tank work in Naxxramas, and you might see boomkins like topping some charts and stuff like that. You're just going to see this really cool state of the game that's never existed before, and sadly, I probably won't participate much in it because I'll be leveling a blood elf. But I don't know, it'd be kind of cool to pop in with my mage and play. Oh, I could play arcane in some raids with my mage. The Arcane Dream. There will have to be more thought put into this. Warriors seemed slow last time I played one. I played Warrior. I don't know what expansion that was. The first time I leveled a character after playing when I was 10 in in classic or vanilla was I believe I started playing again in TBC for a little bit, and then I played in Wrath. The tricky thing is I wasn't allowed to have a World of Warcraft subscription during the school year. I could only play during the summer, so really weird there for me for a little bit playing World of Warcraft. But the first thing I leveled was a warrior, and I remember feeling like they were slow. I remember always being like, wow, I have to charge everywhere that I go because I don't know, the class just felt slow. I've never level maxed a warrior from melee, just a pally. Yeah, I got that warrior to like level 60 or something like that back in the TBC days. I think I started leveling a little bit in Outlands, and then I think I might have done a dungeon or two, but I don't think I leveled all the way to 70. 10 years old. Yes. Back in 2004, I was double digits for the first time. I don't think I actually played until 2005, so 11, I apologize.
Available gear through early quests, especially weapons, I reckon it won't be quite as painful as it's been made out to be. Oh, also stock up on bandages and potions, the usual for warriors really. Also, whatever you hear about warriors, their AoE is very good, for a melee class at least. They will be strong in dungeon content, or where their ability to cleave will come in,
Dungeon
such as
cleave
Right
for the
then,
warriors.
on to PvE. This is where things get interesting.
What in
for
the
the
world are
warrior.
those
So
maces? Those are cool. Dragon head maces. I mean, I wouldn't be like, that's the number one thing I want of all time, but those are
they
pretty
have
cool.
been from the moment the servers launch till whenever we go through the Dark Portal, and there are a number of reasons for that, some of which go away with TBC. Out of every class, warriors get the most benefit from world buffs, as a DPS.
First time I played, I was 19. Oh, I'm 32 now. Time flies. Time does fly. Like, I'm 26 now. I think I'll be 27. Yeah, I'll be 27 this year. And it just seems like yesterday that I was in college playing Dota 2 with my buddies and staying up playing Call of Duty Zombies until the sun came up. sleeping through my first class because it was just history 1700 and it really didn't matter. But that was in 2013. That was 8 years ago. 8 years ago. Oh
Being
my.
able to get crit chance for free through world buffs was a pretty big deal. They had good baseline scale.
I mean, World of Warcraft Classic came out a year and a half ago. And that does not seem very long ago. Time just flies.
Scaling through strength and agility, the latest version of Bloodthirst, two
Played all
huge
night and
DPS
had
cooldowns
class the
in
next
Death
morning.
Wish and Recklessness, heroic strike queuing, and well,
I mean, if you've never played WoW all night and then had to do something early the next day, have you ever really played WoW? I remember nights with my cousin and our friends playing games until the sun started coming up, and then we were like whispering and being quiet the whole time we were playing, and then having to pretend like we went to sleep and we got back up early and started playing again because we would have got in trouble if we would have stayed up all night, kind of situation, and then being super tired the next day, or I don't know, just funny stuff, kid stuff,
just
man.
the rage mechanic in general. More
That
gear,
was
more
way a
damage,
long
more
time
crits,
ago.
more rage, more pumping.
Exactly.
The class just scales so well. And TBC is sort of the start of what Warriors would go on to see for, well, quite a few expansions to come. It's similar to what Fire Mages experience. When you have a class that needs to crit to really put out damage, and then you take a lot of that crit away at the start of the expansion, it takes them a while to get going again. Also,
does Warrior need crit to fill? Because when you crit, you generate more rage, if I'm not mistaken. And the more rage you have, the more that you can do, and it just kind of snowballs off of that. So it would make sense if Warrior felt slow and not as much fun when you didn't have as much rage. And definitely, I can see what he's saying there, where at the start of an expansion, you start exchanging all of your gear because you're just getting like so much more in terms of stat value that it's a no-brainer to exchange your gear over, and then you lose all of your crit and all of your hit, and so it probably feels really sluggish, but you're doing it's better than not upgrading your gear. That makes sense. And I definitely see the correlation he's making with fire mages, because I mean I played a fire mage in the end of classic through AQ and Nax, and if you don't have crits, you're not keeping that ignite up, and you don't feel like you're doing a bunch of damage. Like, I definitely see that.
In TBC only really starts to throw melee a bone towards the later tiers, when a lot of armor penetration items become available. Warriors don't even do that bad damage, to be honest. It's just smaller raid sides, more limited raid slots due to wanting a wide variety of specs for utility, particularly melee unfriendly mechanics in earlier tiers of raiding, which have now been confirmed to be pre-nerfed, and
that 4:3 aspect ratio. Oh.
The fact that Warrior is way overrepresented in Classic at the moment. It doesn't exactly help their case that the one unique buff they can bring baseline to the raid is Commanding Shout, and that's just some extra health for your party. This will make Warriors...
And isn't that baseline? Like, all specs have it, so you don't even need a specific spec. You just need a warrior in general.
Less of a desirable class to bring along than they are at the moment. And I don't want to scaremonger, of course. It depends on your raid. Content will be clearable with a suboptimal setup. I'm more than just a bit sure about that. And there is a lot more to raids than speed.
Ashes of Alar, right? That's the name of that mount. It's going to be cool to see that for the first time in game.
You shouldn't expect to be the guy who is always at the top of the meters anymore. Well, not for a long time anyway.
Yeah.
So let's talk
knock those warriors down a peg. Tired of seeing nothing but brown on my
Fury first,
DPS counter.
And there's a lot of talents, and this goes for warrior DPS in general, which aren't exactly the most exciting, and you kind of have to pick them up in the arms tree to get down to deep wounds and impale, which are just
which spec dual wields.
It kind of feels like
for warrior
wasted just to get what you really
Fury.
want. So many other classes moved away from this kind of design. In fact, it almost feels like Warrior is the only class that actually still has to do this. You'll notice
I believe if you play arms, you play two-handed.
Swap places, which never really made a lot of sense, to be honest. Both of these fit thematically much better in their prior places, in my opinion. Tactical Mastery has moved from arms and now is at the top of the protection tree, but we're a bit...
Yeah, I don't know exactly what these two abilities do, but thematically, Death Wish seems like it would belong in the Fury tree, and Sweeping Strikes feels like it would belong in the arms tree. Yeah, Warrior, okay. This is the arms tree, right? I'm like looking for... Yeah, it is. I was looking for something memorable to be like, yeah, that's definitely what that is.
Short on talent
Oh,
points
look, it says at the very bottom.
In the Fury tree, new additions are Weapon Mastery, Improved Whirlwind, and Improved Berserker stance.
There's a couple other classes that dual wield.
Some additional threat reduction.
Rogues dual wield. Shamans dual wield. Well, enhanced shamans start dual wielding in TBC.
Now, bottom of the tree is Rampage. Use it after a crit, and it gives 250 bonus attack power at 5 stacks. Good early
classic
on, but
Fury warriors
really,
are the ones that
a shame.
are the dual wielders.
To find this referenced anywhere, but is it ever worth with late game gear just dropping this and picking up Death Wish instead? 20% more damage for 30 seconds still sounds pretty nice. Maybe
seeing all those numbers pop up,
not worth
so
it,
awesome.
Just a thought. And I would personally also take Piercing Howl.
So that's something that's really unfortunate for warriors, is that their Rampage ability at the very bottom of their tree is a static value of giving you 250 attack power for I think it's a couple strikes, I'm not exactly sure. Like, it not being a percent of, like, I don't know, something like your strength or something like that just makes it so that it does not scale.
I just like the ability. Another new
like
addition.
it's going to be as strong on day one as it will be at the very end of the expansion.
Fury for the Whirlwind ability is you attack with both your main and offhand weapons now. And speaking of cleave, Sweeping Strikes is moved up from 5 attacks to 10, so you can see
that was a lot of...
still pretty solid. Expect Fury to be a cleaving machine in dungeons.
Is this what you see playing as a warrior? Is it just nothing but, like, numbers popping up like that? Like, the only time I see that as a mage is when I'm hitting, like, 8, like, Arcane Explosion.
And 10-man content, though it
okay,
won't
when I'm doing any sort of AoE farming,
target
but...
damage as it does at the moment in Classic for quite some time. Though there is another spec Warriors will be running in PvE content too, and I bet this one will be more frequently seen. And the reason for that is it does bring a unique benefit for the entire raid, and that is Arms Warriors.
I'm going to skip forward to the end here for his conclusion.
We answer the...
I don't necessarily need to know about all the different specs, viabilities, or whatever in each of the different sections, because I don't plan on playing one.
Well, no, not really. Compared to Classic, at least, you've been playing literally the best tank and DPS by some margin. If the class got any better, they would have been on par with Wrath of the Lich.
Is that a one-tap or a one-button macro? Wait. Why is there Death Knight? Hold on. I missed something.
Evolution of the class through the Dark Portal, but can we answer? The Warrior, is it any better now? Well, no, not really. Compared to Classic, at least, you've been playing literally the best tank and DPS by some margin. If the class got any better, they would have been on par with Wrath of the Lich King released Death Knights or Ret Paladins. No one class should remain that broken for that long. Blizzard kinda had to bring them back in line, which they did. Tanking is still as good as ever as it was for protection. They do kind of similar to how they do in PvP compared to Classic, in that they need some help to be good, though resilience goes a long way to stop you from getting globaled.
They're a pure damage class without much mobility.
On top of the meters every
They're going to need some help by their other
expansion. Yes, they have
teammates.
great AoE for a melee. Yes, by tier 6 with more armor pen gear becoming available, they do really start to improve, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a
that sword's pretty cool.
Classic. Though whilst Warriors don't pack the utility
There's
of
Grand.
the raw damage output is solid, and by the end of the expansion is actually very good. Still, less competition for gear though, right?
Wow.
That's something.
Look at that number pop up.
It could be like bringing a new druid to Molten Core at the
Oh
moment.
my gosh. Is that right after hitting
Walking
Whirlwind?
out with full tier 1. All the same as we went over earlier, the class is just way overrepresented in Classic at the moment. I'd be looking at securing a guild spot sooner rather than later on the Warrior, regardless of your current role
And
or
see,
playstyle.
like, it's videos like this that that are just going to further encourage the people's vision and the stigmatism that surrounds the class. 'Tis most unfortunate. Willie did one on Paladin. All right, I'm watching this because I plan on playing a Paladin. What was the other one? Shaman? We ain't playing no Shaman. I'd have to play an Orc to play Shaman. And by the way, yes, the female Orc is the way to go because their character model for the Horde most represents the human model from the Alliance. I think any character of mine that was not an undead was a female Orc. It's just that their animations were the best, and yeah, that's, I mean, sometimes their running was a little weird, and when they fall, they're like weird little like movement. It's kind of weird a little bit. But
it's about time we did
it's the same intro video
Let's
sequence.
take a look back at each class in the Burning Crusade, the performance.
Oh, there was the
overall, and
there was the
hopefully
gnome.
you make your choice
I saw it pop
moving
its head up
forwards. We will be
on the
looking
left-hand
at
side.
What's new in terms of talents and abilities? Leveling, PvE, who's the new king of the meter, PvP, has much changed, and tier sets which actually exist for every specialization now. And through this, I hope to answer: is your class any better now?
Oh snap! Snap, crackle, pop!
And today we have the other half of the new race class combo to come with the Burning Crusade. If you
You're
think
kind of
Shamans
weird.
are going to be
I am
hyped
kind
on
of
the
weird, bro.
Alliance side,
I mean, I'm streaming, talking to myself in my room. Well, I'm talking to you guys a little bit, but mostly I'm just saying my thoughts on the video with my camera zoomed in on the section of my face from my nose to my forehead. Yeah, you can say it's kind of weird. Have you ever played one, a gnome? No, I have not. I don't like how their head's bigger than all the rest of the class's heads. It wigs me out. However, I have wanted to play a gnome in Dungeons and Dragons, and this is veering off topic a little bit. So in Dungeons and Dragons, if you're not playing, you are going through and spending your time creating characters that you could play with if you were playing. And what I did is I created a gnome engineer. That's kind of his background, his lore, but he's an artificer, and his whole thing is that he's a mech pilot, like Titanfall or BattleTech, and or Pacific Rim, if you will, and there's a subclass of the artificer class in Dungeons and Dragons called the Battlesmith, and they have what is called a steel defender, and typically this is portrayed as a dog or some other kind of companion. It doesn't have to be on 4 legs. It says that it can be on 2 legs as well, but some sort of steel construct that you've created through your knowledge of being an artificer. And what my idea for it is that this mech that he creates is his battle suit, and he spends his time adding, so every time he gets a new spell or something like that, he's actually just adding new components to this mech, and So like I don't know, he gets fireball, but it's really like a cannon that he adds to the shoulder of the mech suit or something like that that fires the cannonball or the cannonball, the fireball. And in addition to that, you have the ability to gain I'm gonna slaughter this, but it's called a homunculus, and the idea being that that's a tiny construct that is kind of like a familiar that you can have do your bidding or whatever. But the idea being that that's going to be a floating drone. So I've got this whole character mapped out for D&D that is a pilot, a mech pilot with his own what do you call it, like Jarvis from Iron Man. And it's going. I'm thinking that the drone, because the drone's got pretty high intellect. The mech doesn't, as a stat block like standard that you have to play by the rules with. And so I'm thinking that the little flying drone is going to have its own. Really, it's going to operate kind of like Siri, like it's and it's going to be a little sassy, and I just think it would be really fun. But that is as close as I've come to playing a gnome. And yes, it's partly because they look like giant babies and that their heads are too big. Kind of like mine is now. Without the mustache, I'd look kind of like a giant baby.
I'd wait till you see how many paladins there will be on the Horde. And not
There's
just
going to be so many paladins, and I'm going to be one of them.
because it's a new class either. People, it turns out, to like elves a lot. And
Hold on. I think you just described me. Hold on.
And well, the Alliance side, wait till you see how many paladins there will be on the Horde. And not just because it's a new class either. People, it turns out, to like elves a lot. And well, Blizzard were very much onto this fact too.
What's exciting about the Blood Elves is they're kind of the first pretty race that the Horde has gotten. A lot of the Horde characters are very monstrous, which turn off a lot of players.
I play Horde because that's what all my friends wanted to play, but then the Blood Elves came out, and I was like, damn, I get to play an elf in the Horde? Count me in. And then they get all this hate. Where was I? I was on this one. Yep, back to the giant face cam. Oh, there it is. So what's actually happening with my camera right now is I've gone into manual focus mode, and so it zooms in on a very small section so you have a bigger view of something small so that you can manually dial in and focus what you would like, where you would like your focal length to be. And yeah, I just leave it in that setting. A pretty elf too, yes.
Really attractive looking characters.
I get to play an attractive looking character.
Face of the Horde.
But I don't think even
the original models for the Blood Elves are so funny looking. They're so I don't know, polygonal. They're very pointy.
But I don't think even they could have predicted how swaying a pretty Horde race would truly be over time. But we aren't here to fawn over elves.
There's so many people that play Blood Elves. I'm one of them.
Paladins have without a doubt come a very long way from Classic, being considered a
cool
class
sword
with a very narrow scope of viability within any competitive scene. Blizzard finally gave them the tools to escape another 2 years of wearing a blue dress. They fleshed out and really made the other two specs that had been so long neglected.
Yes, I don't have to wear a dress, and I can cast spells.
Tangible strengths. This is a class with a huge amount of depth, so we better make a start. You know the drill by now.
You're gonna play male or female? I'm going to play male,
and then we'll get onto the spec specifics afterwards. Righteous defense.
The armor just doesn't look as good on the female elves. I'm sorry.
Huge amount of depth.
Everything's just. That's a cool hammer. Everything is just kind of out of.
Drill by now.
I don't know. The ratio's just wrong. Like, look how small the shoulder pads are. And like, look how lanky the bracers are and stuff like that. It's just the
What's
female
new?
blood elves are
Baseline,
they're
and then
just
we'll get
out of
into these
proportion. I'm
specifics
sorry.
afterwards.
Some people are like,
Righteous
oh, they're
defense,
pretty
a
elves,
taunt.
and I
The
want.
Mad Lads of
I'm
Blizzard
sorry.
actually gave paladins a taunt.
The
This was
male
the key tanking mechanic
blood
protection
elves are
was
probably
ever
the
so
same way.
desperately missing in Classic that simply just made them struggle
You're live. I never got a notification. Oh man.
enormously
I'm sorry,
in raid
dude.
content. Sure, there was the whole Blessing a King spam that actually did good consistent threat, but if a DPS
That's
rips
cute,
it off
but I
you,
get it,
well,
though.
you don't have a button to instantly
That, and I don't want to be the person who played the female blood elf just because I thought they were hot. Like there's gonna be those people. I don't want to be that person.
get the target back onto you.
Nice
Righteous
half of your
defense is a
face, by the
little
way.
different
Thanks,
from
man.
your average taunt too. In fact, most of the time it's just better. It's actually cast on a friendly target, taunting 3 enemy targets off them at once.
Which is great, and I don't know, like I just don't know how often this taunt is going to be used, because of the fact that when you're polling in, I guess it's going to be used more in dungeons, but when you're polling in raids, the hunter has this new misdirect talent, which allows your next 3 attacks threat to transfer to another character, which you're going to point towards your tank. So you're going to have your hunter be doing your polls, and they're going to transfer the threat over to your tank. So I just don't know how often this is going to be used. So the way that I understand prop paladins are going to be played in the Burning Crusade is they're more of like an off tank and an AoE tank, because they hold pretty good AoE threat. So I see them being an off tank, and actually probably, now that I think about it, using this ability quite a bit, because when someone becomes in danger and they've pulled threat, then you're going to be the off tank. You're going to go use your ability and go pull the threat from that person. I play females because I'm a female. Well, that totally makes sense. It feels rather weird to play a male. I had a Tauren male once, though, because they look cute. To me, anyway. I mean, what's not to love about a cow? You ever met a mean cow? Like in real life? Like, cows are cool. And I have met a lot of people who are like, oh, it's just such a cute cow. Like my mom. A little bit of story time. So my mother and my aunt, and just like my grandma on my mom's side of the family, they play this weird game where they got this little sheep and this little cow from some yard sale sometime. And then what they do is when they visit each other, which is like 3 times a week, they'll leave the little sheep or the little cow somewhere like hidden in their house, or like in their couch, or like on top of their fridge and stuff like that. And then when they find it, they're like, oh man, they got me good, because I didn't notice them put it there. And then they'll do it back to the other person. It's just this endless cycle. And my mom really loved this picture of this, I think it was a longhorn. And so I think my grandma for Christmas got her like a little stuffed animal version of like basically the same cow, and then like a calendar with photos of the actual cow. And my mom just loved it so much. It was really funny. Yes, bulls can be mean. They can be.
Range 2. If it's melee range on a friendly
I didn't think
target,
about that.
well, everybody
I was
would have
just
to be
thinking about
sitting
like
on top
milk
of the
cows.
tank. You'll want to have a target macro to just allow you to hit taunt and not need to mess about trying to find who the mob's going after. Regardless though, this is a real game changer for protection. Spiritual Attunement is a new passive that goes hand in hand with Righteous Defense to make Paladins a great tank. Pretty simple in how it works. 10% of friendly heals are given as mana, meaning the Paladin will have enough fuel in the tank to be able to press the buttons, even on longer.
That's a really cool ability, that getting heals increases your mana.
Boss fights. It only works on heals that actually gain you health as well. It used to work from overhealing for a period of time. People had Paladins in a group with a Shadow Priest and they could literally not go no matter how hard they tried. It has a lesser use for Ret 2, which we'll get onto later. Avenging Wrath, aka Wings, the big iconic DPS cooldown for the...
So, I love the idea of this Avenging Wrath, but I want to dive into a little bit of PvP in Arena. And the first time that I get my Avenging Wrath stolen from me by a mage, I'm going to cry. Because you increase all damage caused by 30% for 20 seconds. Like that's huge. That's such a long amount of time. I believe it can be dispelled, and it can be stolen by mages. And the first time it happens, I'm going to lose to that mage. And so like there's probably going to be the chance that if I ever go up against a mage, which is going to happen when I go up against a mage in PvP arena, I probably will not press my Avenging Wrath button until they're dead, which I don't know much about PvP arena right now. But it may be that you just leave the mage until you've killed the other two classes. I don't know. I know that there's a lot to learn there, and I look forward to learning the different synergies and how the different classes play against each other. Kind of like how the intricacies of playing Hearthstone and the difference of the different class card decks operate, which was really fun and cool to learn and figure out how the each state of the game progressed. Nerf, lol, just kidding. Blizz nerfs anything fun.
Paladin. It's probably
I don't know
little
how
different
Avenging
from
Wrath
how you remember
changes
it, however,
over time.
30% extra damage, no bonus healing for 20 seconds. Also causes forbearance. So
And look, it is a buff, so like I'm pretty sure if you have a couple buffs like Blessing of Kings and I don't know, maybe Arcane Intellect from a mage or something like that, then that if you were to be dispelled, they're only going to dispel one of your abilities, so you might keep
kind
it.
of an all-in type spell in PvP.
Stealing my Avenging
since
Wrath,
this
I'm
debuff will
scared.
stop the use of bubble. Also, it is a magic buff, so watch out for mages.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. Can't be made invulnerable by Divine Shield. Those things are very good. Divine Protection, Blessing of Protection. You might not use Avenging Wrath at all unless it's like a finisher and you like, I don't know how long arena matches last. I'd have to imagine they last over a minute, but like they're gonna have to last like a minute 30 into 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes in order for you to use, like, come to a point where you need to use a bop and then have that timer for forbearance wear off and then have the ability to use your Avenging Wrath. Like, and in that point in time, if the game's gone on that long, like, is using Avenging Wrath like stupid, or are you gonna want to save like the ability to use another blessing or the Divine Protection? I don't know. These are things I'm gonna have to think through. these are gonna be what I think separates
Even still, it's a great
the
to stack with heroism,
great
trinkets,
players from
potions,
the not
and
so
gives your
great
protection
players
paladin a
in
nice extra
arena.
amount of threat generated for its duration. Crusader Aura, not quite as exciting as the other spells so far, but 20% extra mounted speed for you and your
Awesome.
party. It doesn't stack with similar effects, however, like Riding Crop. It's
I wonder
something
what
guess
the
you'll
mana
have a
cost
weak
is on
aura to
that.
say, remember to press the button when you mount.
That's gonna be so great for like crafting farming.
Evil, I forgot this one existed, to be honest. It's like an upgraded Turn Undead. Now works versus demons too, which is pretty handy since demons aren't too hard to find in Outland. And
Okay.
finally, there are two new seals, Seal of Blood and Seal of Vengeance. So you know
which both factions get, and back in the original game, only Seal of Blood was on the Horde and Seal of Vengeance was on the Alliance. And as far as I'm aware, this was proven through Sims and private servers and the original launch of the game to be inferior to Seal of Blood, so people actually ended up using Command of
how both factions get
Seal of Command instead.
Paladins and Shaman now.
I don't
guessing
know.
Blizzard wanted to keep a
I
little
honestly don't
something
know that much about
faction-specific.
Paladins, and
Shamans
so
get different
that's a big part of what additionally why I want to play them is I really like the lore and theme of playing a class that is both physical damage dealer and magical damage dealer, just generally cool in my mind. And then B, being able to play a class I didn't have an option to play already is just cool, just fun.
flavors of heroism or bloodlust, but they both do the same thing, so no issues there. Seal of Blood and Vengeance, however, don't do the same thing. And all data from back in the day, from the likes of elitist jerks to people on fan servers perfecting and optimizing the Paladin, points towards Seal of Blood.
He said it a little more mean than I did.
Being better the majority of the time. But I'd like to carry on for now, and we can talk more about this in detail in the Ret part of PvE. Leveling wise, Paladin still does Paladin stuff for, well, quite a while, which is this.
That's gonna be me. It's gonna be me. Auto attacking my way to
Spiritual
victory. Because it's not until you get things like you can seal twist, and that adds another layer into it. But when you are out in the world leveling, like, I think that's too mana intensive, and so you just won't be able to do it. So it's not until you get Crusader Strike, if you're leveling as Ret, which I think I'm gonna level as Prot, because I've just heard that's a little, like, obviously it's protection, so it's gonna be a little more tanky, so the survivability is a little bit higher. But like, you don't get Crusader Strike, you don't get on use abilities and stuff, so
Actually has
yeah,
a
that combat,
very
Jesus,
early
that combat.
On, makes Prot more interesting even for low-level dungeons, which is super nice. Once you are in Outland, though, you have your Crusader Strike, most likely if you're Ret.
Crusader
you have your
Strike.
Exorcism, which is going to be seeing a lot of action and is a great, albeit rather expensive, extra button to add some punch.
That's one ability that I'm not hugely fond of. I don't like abilities that are only usable after certain use cases or because of certain use cases. So like Exorcism, you can only use that ability on demons and undead, if I'm not mistaken. And so it feels bad to me to not be able to use an ability, which is cool in the case of Exorcism because it's a ranged spell attack where you're like, that's something that's pretty cool for paladins. But you can only use it on certain targets, and it just, I don't know, it feels bad in my mind. Like, it almost feels like I get that the Burning Crusade has quite a few of those, and especially in some of the raids, but like, I'm gonna have to put it into a keybind that is going to be a little awkward to press, and then it's going to be super useful during certain portions, and then I'm gonna feel like I might want to move it to a different keybind, but I don't know. I like when my keybinds stay the same. And I like when abilities work on everything.
AoE farming has become an even better option for paladins now, providing you can get your hands on some nice spell
More
power gear
survivability, yeah.
due to their
definitely.
infinite AoE scaling through consecration. Also, protection paladins are without.
So using consecration. Someone commented on my Reddit post. Let's see. I couldn't fully read it. Please hold. So I posted this, which was just an update of the fact that I uploaded a video. And because we were waiting for Wrath of the Lich King. I am getting used to typing half on my keypad and half on my keyboard, and the learning curve is quite steep.
Without a doubt, the kings of smaller group content.
Wait, you can flex? There's a flex emote?
Also, protection paladins are without a...
Okay, hold up. I said I'm not going to play the female elf, but their flex animation's pretty cool.
AoE scaling through consecration. Also, protection paladins are without a doubt
that's
the
pretty
kings
cool.
of smaller group content. I'm talking your frequent pulls of multiple mobs in heroic dungeons in Kara or in ZA. Their AoE
That
threat is
tier
just the
set's
best
just
and
so
the
cool
most
looking.
consistent. They have a ranged taunt, and all the standard blessings you can expect from the Paladin. Solo leveling...
Like, hold on. I like the color purple and the color light green, but I can't get my stupid floodlight to do the correct color green. You can see it here on my PC, the teal, but anyways,
They
continuing.
are somewhat improved upon Classic, but if you take the dungeon or group routes as propped, I think you're going to have a very good time. With that out the way, let's get on to the interesting stuff, PvE. Let's start with what most of the Paladin population will be playing
Yes,
at
it
the
is.
moment.
Such a cool animation.
Now, playstyle-wise,
I might have
what
to
Holy
reconsider.
was good at in Classic is still what they're good at in TBC, and indeed has really become their niche.
Those
over
shoulders are so cool.
time. Very strong and efficient single target healing. Here is the type of spec you may see in PvE content, and it's very useful.
Man,
that Holy can
she looks like
their
she
niche
is
over time. Very
on speed.
strong and efficient single target healing. Here is the type of spec you may see in PvE.
That makes me think of this little clip of this video that I watched the other day. Where is it at? Where is this? Oh, there it is.
If the enemy gamer's friend is in the back spamming fucking heals, then again I can not kill him. So
Great. That
what?
video. Okay, hold on.
Very
Do you
strong
see
and
any difference?
efficient
Because I
single
don't. That's
target
the same
healing.
video.
Here is the type of spec you may see in PvE.
Your logo color, yeah, it's a pretty one. Yeah, that's I think that's a little. No, I was thinking that might be a little on the like neon green side, but no, that's the reason why I have it that color. Oh, and that's my last name. I'm still working on the brand name. What my gaming buddies just told me that he's gonna go play on a different server, and it's made me sad. I'll still level my horde tune, so don't worry. Oh. What a jerk. So one of our friends, instead of saying a heart attack, he says heart stop. And so when he told me that he was going to swap over to a new realm, I told him that he gave me heart stop.
Standard build, those being wisdom, kings, and might. And I suppose I should mention that ideally you would like to have at least 3 paladins in your raid group, solely for blessings if nothing else, because they offer such great bonuses overall.
Yeah.
The main ones you want to see are salvation, kings, and
Give me
might or
heart stop.
wisdom, and one paladin can only do one type of blessing per player. Some classes of course like both might and wisdom, like enhancement or res, so there's some
One thing I've always thought though is like, what is the deal with the male blood elves like forearms? Are they like descendants of freaking Popeye the Sailor?
waiting to be had there. But just know that you'll have a job of making sure everybody has the right blessing running all the time, and don't worry, I'm sure they will let you know if they don't. I will be glad you never had to deal with 5-minute lesser and 10-minute greater blessings. Their durations have thankfully been buffed up a little bit more. Anyways, talking about Holy, I guess the big news for this spec is Consecration is now baseline for Paladins. This is just such a great addition. I don't think there's a Paladin spec out there in Classic that doesn't aim to pick this talent up. It's just too useful to the class overall.
Yeah,
We
I
have
think-
some extra aura
I
rate.
think almost every class or every build, essentially, you would go, was it 11 points into Holy just so you get Consecration.
From the aptly named Aura Mastery, Holy Shock cooldown has been halved as well as given a much better spell.
Something I do want to try is a Holy Shock Shockadim build. It seems like fun. It's going to be like a half healer build, but
damage coefficient
seems
as of
interesting.
a later patch. TBC is the real rise of the Shockadin, which we will definitely be talking about in PvP. Light's Grace and Holy Guidance are the real two talents that change your playstyle. In Classic, you more or less just bash Flash of Light non-stop, because damage tends to be pretty bursty. Even if no one's taking damage, you just press the button.
Flash of Light.
For Holy
Flash
Powers,
of Light.
thanks to these two talents, it becomes much more attractive to just Holy Light and stack Intellect as high as you possibly can. Also, yes, down ranking is still a thing. Blizzard did try to nerf it, but I guess they didn't quite do a good enough job. Divine Illumination is your new end of tree talent, 50% reduced mana cost for 15 seconds, which is pretty strong and lets the Paladin be the mana efficient healer you are used to.
Shockadin, that's a new for me. Oh, well, we will talk about it here. Shockadin.
Illumination.
Essentially, the basis is that you go down into the Holy Tree for this Holy Shock ability, which can either heal or deal damage to an enemy. And what you do is you get a lot of the talents in the tree that give you more spell damage and more intellect, with the sole intent of doing some healing, but also throwing this Holy Shock ability at your enemies basically as much as possible, and just maximizing spell damage gear so that you increase the amount of damage that it deals. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think people play it much. I think it, like he has said, I think it's mostly a PvP kind of thing where you might play with, like, I don't know, like a warrior or something like that. So you're the main thing you're going to be doing is playing as a healer, like a support to your damage class, but you're going to be able to throw some
hard at that. This
some
was the
shocks
talent
when
that
you
made
need.
Paladins quite literally just not go in once you started to hit late game gear in Classic, especially stacking that up with world buffs. Here it's down to 60% mana refund. It used to be 100%, and yes, it was pretty overpowered as a passive effect.
100%.
So now Paladins actually have a bit more of a mortal mana bar, which is a pretty big change, I guess. Next up, Protection.
100%?
So as we mentioned, Protection actually gets the tools it
That
needs
would've
to
been
be
crazy.
a real tank, but were they actually any good at it? Let's have a little look. To start off with, here's a very defense-oriented
sense.
setup
Yeah,
for content
it's kind of a cool
where
class
you would be
concept.
expecting to take some pretty heavy damage, 25-man raids pretty much. Reckoning changes, it's no longer this mysterious invisible buff that disappears when you mount up for unexplained reasons. This talent's always confused me a bit. Instead, it's like this: when you get hit by anything, you have a percentage chance for your next 4 swings to generate an extra attack, meaning it's a pretty decent 1-point wonder talent for most content. Protection scales very well
just
as
throw
the
one
expansion goes
point
on
in
through
it to
stamina
get the
stacking
ability.
on talents like Sacred Duty,
Don't care
combat
about it
expertise, as well
going
as a
off
nice
more
bit of
often.
extra damage reduction from improved Righteous Fury. Improved Holy Shield makes Paladin a lot more sturdy, very reminiscent of how improved shield block works for warriors. Extra charges, more threat, less damage incoming, and should have a very good uptime unless you're taking
Similar to
damage from a
shield
great
wall,
number
that's
of
kinda cool.
enemies at once, as in over 12 attacks within the space of 10 seconds. Avenger Shield, the iconic end of tree ability for the Paladin, though I'm betting it will be different to how you remember it, because it has a 1-second cast time. Of course, you can't dodge, block, or parry whilst casting, and it will chain to 3 enemies nearby maximum. It also applies a daze, which is a 50% slow. So it's pretty much a
good way to do
snap
pulls.
threat ability at the start of a fight, or
Something
to
the
be used
Paladins
as a
really
tool
needed.
to pull mobs, which Paladins were really missing in
Like
Classic.
he just said.
Just make sure you don't accidentally chain pull, or the daze doesn't split up the mobs too much. As for the tanking performance for Protection Paladins, there are some great guides out there to really get stuck into the subject.
The 4
but
by
just
3
to
ratio,
give
I
you a
love
brief
it.
mention, is they work very differently from other tanks. They have very few abilities with threat modifiers on them, like the likes of Lacerate or Heroic Strike. The vast
One thing I'm not sure on is Puppy is flailing, trying to get comfortable. You okay now? Are you comfy? Oh, really? Oh, he's gonna come say hi? What time is it? 11:40. Let's see. What time did I start streaming? 2 hours ago? No, you should be okay. I thought maybe she needed to go out and use the restroom, but she should be fine. She's just restless. She says, hey, you's boring. Feeding the cats. Oh, you were. I was like, the dog?
Majority of their threat is more or less entirely from holy damage dealt. This means their itemization to build threat is
And
how
she's
much
laying
spell
down again.
damage can I put on without dying, whereas their defensive gearing can cut into that threat generation heavily, especially when
That
you're
would
aiming for
be
defensive caps early on.
that would be a fun line to play with, trying to figure out armor versus spell damage. Like how much armor do I need so I don't die, but how much spell damage can I throw on to deal a little bit extra damage, but also increase threat? Be kind of an
This
interesting
means protections
line
are
to
more
play with.
often seen as off tanks to late game gearing. Saying that, it all depends on the content difficulty, and there's some
Such
content
cool
where the
shoulder
protection
pads.
paladin feels too good to ignore, like basically the entire trash phase of Mount Hyjal or Morrogrim and SSC to name two. And you know I can't just leave prop there, because they're a lot more than just a tank in TBC. They are now the best AoE farming or boosting class in the game, thanks to the AoE damage caps putting a stop to the tyranny of the mage, that is. Consecration wasn't AoE damage capped. Why? Dunno, but it wasn't. As for exactly what build you'll want, it's all about striking a balance. Where will be the best spots to farm? How is your gear? Are you not dying but you're going slow, or fast but you don't make the runs consistently?
I'm gonna be testing that out.
Your defensive build might look something like this. Key
Prop
points are
paladin
making
farming.
sure that we go far enough into Ret to pit up Sanctiora. Retora isn't worth it anymore due to how Consecration scales so exceptionally well, and you can even bubble and throw up a Holy Wrath if you are mass pulling or dead or demons too. Something along this line might even be good in dungeons due to its extra damage if you aren't at the risk of dying. Or maybe there's so little risk in the dungeon or boost you're doing, you can just go full on with some ridiculous spec and get as much damage as possible out of the class. You've heard of Prot Fury, but what about Prot Ret? Pretty much going deep enough into Ret for Vengeance, which means your crits increase holy and physical damage by 15% at 3 stacks, build stacks faster through
hold on.
increase holy and
Say
physical
that again?
Ret. Pretty much going deep enough into Ret for Vengeance, which means your crits increase holy and physical damage by 15% at 3.
Oh, he said in ret. I thought he said in prot. I was so confused. Give you a 5% bonus to physical and holy damage you deal for 15 seconds after dealing a critical strike from a weapon swing, spell, or ability. This effect stacks up to 3 times. I'm feeding the cat salmon. Yeah, no, I gotcha. Gives you a 5% bonus to physical and holy damage you deal for 15 seconds after dealing a critical strike. And holy damage. And it can stack up to 3 times. Is that new that it also adds to the holy damage? I don't know. I haven't played Paladin.
Through Reckoning, more move
I guess
speed
I'll have to
from
do more
Pursuit of
research.
Justice, and with full Vengeance stacks, that would be 25% more holy damage dealt. It sounds pretty good, or maybe just insta-die to anything because you're so squishy. It's just an idea, and it sounds like something that could be fun to try out. Well, that leaves us with one spec
So
left,
gonna be
Retribution. So Ret's
playing
in
with all
Classic
sorts of different
were,
builds to try it out.
a little bit lower down, shall we say. And for TBC,
I'm gonna
they
die
get
so
some
many
amazing
times.
buffs to make them a much more competitive class, and as we will see, bring some very strong raid-wide buffs too. All the same, they don't go from one of the bottom DPS to suddenly near the top. You need to wait one more expansion for that. They can, however, do some very
Yep, I think did he show Divine Storm that comes out in Wrath of the Lich King, if I'm not mistaken, right?
of the game too, with some more gear in their inventory.
I'm a noob.
And assuming they are hitting a demon or undead.
For how much I play this game, it's amazing how little I
as
know.
with like a few other specs we've seen so far,
But I mean,
they are
it's
largely
different
more
expansions
there
I've
for
never played, so.
utility, like your enhancement shamans or your boomkins. Blessing of Might now affects all attack power, not just melee. Improved Seal of the Crusader gives 3% crit against a target, making it a great raid-wide buff. Improved Sanctiora also gives members of your party a flat 2% extra damage. It's these combined reasons that a Ret is really nice to have.
The amount of damage caused by targets affected by Sanctity Aura increases by 2%. Oh. I thought that just increased Sanctity Aura by an additional 2%, which Sanctity Aura only increases holy damage if I'm not mistaken. So that actually makes Sanctity Aura a lot better than I thought it was. It's just a flat 2% damage increase for people in your party. What? Wow. Okay. So you're getting a 10% increase to holy damage and 2% flat damage as well as the rest of your party. That seems pretty good.
Sanctified Judgments helps out with those mana issues, and Crusader Strike right at the bottom of the tree, an ability that oh so nearly made it into vanilla for Paladins but was replaced with the Seal and Judgment system.
Really? I didn't know that.
Not only another button to press for some nice damage, but also refreshes all judgments on the target, which is
a button to press because you don't get any buttons to press
so your
in
holy
combat.
pally doesn't have to stop what they're doing to run over and melee the boss to keep their judgment running. So I guess I have to talk Seal of Vengeance versus Seal of Blood now, right? I did do a full video on it a while back, and I'll link that because there really is that much to talk about in the subject. Seal of Vengeance is what the Alliance gets, stacking a holy damage dot, where the judgment does more damage per stack, up to 5 stacks maximum. Horde got Seal of Blood that does bonus damage with each melee swing, and a small amount of reflect damage back to the Paladin. The judgment does something pretty much the same along that line, which can actually be beneficial that they are taking damage, because they will then be able to restore mana through being healed thanks to spiritual attunement. So the short...
I wonder what will be better for questing. Like, I bet Seal of Command will be better for lower ranked, like more mob type enemies, and then maybe more elite type enemies out leveling Seal of Vengeance will be better. But I don't think you get that until like a really high level. So
is since Seal of Blood
I guess it probably wouldn't matter.
And with haste that lower your swing timer, it will do overall more damage than the Alliance Rets will be able to do with their combination of Seal of Vengeance and Command. Seal of Vengeance is better for protection until later on in the game when this Librum comes out, and Alliance Rets still have Seal of Command, which is decent early on but does not compete with the haste comes out. And
increase the damage done by your Seal of Righteousness and Judgment of Righteousness abilities by up to 94. Wow.
The Alliance Rets still have Seal of Command, which is decent early on, but does not compete with the haste scaling on Blood. Saying all of this, and as of writing this, Blizzard are testing Seal twisting on the classic PTR, and I've heard you can twist different ranks of Command, which, to be honest, doesn't quite sound right to me, so we'll have to see how things develop. So that is a brief look at PvE for you.
That is a lot of in-depth information right there.
Well, first things first, protection specs, and this just goes for all of them actually, are not a thing in Arena, which I'm sure you are glad to hear if you've been playing Shadowlands from launch. They simply do not do any kind of damage which is threatening, they're just damage sponges themselves. As for the other two specs, they do see some representation though in a somewhat narrow variety of comps. But we've got to start with the meme, because it really came to life in TBC, the Shockadin. Here is a random spec I threw together. I couldn't really find any resources online, so I've no idea how bad this is. Don't judge me, okay?
Heavy level of judgment incoming.
So Holy Shock would have a 25% crit modifier baseline through Holy and Purifying Power, better spell damage scaling through Holy Guidance, and of course Sanctity Aura instead of Divine Illumination, because we need damage, not mana efficiency. I also picked up Eye for an Eye, might as well be doing something useful between shock cooldowns. This is very much all in on the shock though, not what you would be seeing from a serious Holy PvP build, though Holy can actually do some surprising burst, very much at the expense of some of their larger cooldowns though. As for a Holy Pala that isn't living the meme, here's something more like it. Deep Holy with most of the standard
Avenging Wrath into a Holy Shock. That could be big.
Talents that we saw for PvE. However, new more PvP oriented choices include Unyielding Faith, Stoicism for some dispel.
You made brisket and then you fed it to the cats? A, congrats on making the brisket. That sounds awesome. And B, shame on you for giving it to the cats.
spell protection, and improved concentration aura and spiritual focus that make your spells immune to pushback as well. Improved Righteous Fury is decent when it doesn't get dispelled, as it's a free 6% less damage taken. Holy Paladins are somewhat in a similar spot to Resto Shamans really. They need to cast to get their big heals off, though I'd argue despite their higher armor values, they are overall more vulnerable to the metagaming in TBC. The real big strong cooldown bubble is pretty much their only consistent line of defense against getting
lucky
bursted
cats.
out, and even then Blizzard decided to give Priest the ability to remove this through Mass Dispel, and you aren't going to be seeing
Mass
a
Dispel's
shortage of
gonna be
Priest in
crazy.
PvP. As for arena representation, they see some play in 2s, mainly with Warriors, which has more or less always been a good 2s combo, with likes of Blessing of Freedom and even Sacrifice, which can't be ignored to prevent CC chains from setting up on the Paladin. 3s is where Holy can really...
That's the one thing that scares me about playing a Paladin is they just have so many different buttons. like playing a mage, I had 8 to 10 abilities, and then I had different ranks of those. But usually what I would do is I would use, for example, E is Frostbolt, and Shift E is Fireball. So like I didn't really cast different ranks of those. But for example, D was Arcane Explosion, but Shift D was rank 1 Arcane Explosion. So like I had options for different ranks based on like shift and control modifiers. But I think that I'm not gonna really gonna have different ranks as a Paladin, and I'm just gonna be accidentally fat fingering
struggle juice
abilities because I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I need to press Blessing of Freedom R, but what did I accidentally do? I pressed Shift R and I cast Blessing of Sacrifice or something.
being easily
Brisket, mashed potatoes, and corn. Oh my gosh! So
shut down by aggressive.
I had a chicken salad for dinner, and to be honest, it's not gonna hold me over. Like I ate that 5 hours ago, and I am starting to get hungry again, and it's honestly to the point where like I'm contemplating stopping streaming here in the end of this video so that I can go. Ooh, I'm thinking a chicken quesadilla. Like I'm both sad because I'm enjoying these videos and hanging out, but I'm hungry.
Comps, though they
And
are
this
seen in
brisket
fives
talk
due to
and
their
mashed potato
overall great
talk
utility.
is not helping.
Retribution also sees play
But
in
no,
high
it's
level arenas,
okay.
though once again in quite a narrow scope of comps.
So I've never played arena. Like maybe I've played like arena here or there, but like I've never like sat down and been like, yeah, let's play arena for like 3 or 4 hours straight. Like I know that's not very much time, but like I've never done that.
Don't
I'm
see
excited.
a Ret without a Shaman somewhere.
Yeah,
Usually
yeah.
Resto. Why? Wind Fury is why. Ret
Wind
actually
Fury.
has very strong burst, it just needs a little bit of luck in the mix to truly pop off. Here's an idea spec, quite similar to your PvE Ret really, though with more points into protection for things like
reduce the cooldown of your Hammer of Justice.
Like improved Hammer of Justice, 45.
What is that armor set? Is that Gladiator? That's Vengeful Gladiator. That's what, season 3? Reduce the cooldown by your Hammer of Justice by another 10 seconds. What's the cooldown? 1 minute? So you can do a Hammer of Justice every 25 seconds and it stuns someone for 6 seconds? Holy crap. So you only have 19 seconds of downtime for an ability that usually has 1 minute cooldown? Well, minus the 6 seconds. What in the world? Watch out for those paladins.
5-second cooldown on an instant cast, 6 seconds.
But I hear that getting Gladiator as a paladin is like, good luck, bro.
Stun is pretty good, as well as Repentance being another 6-second CC on a 20-yard range. Also, your seals are practically immune to dispels thanks to Stoicism and Sanctified Seals.
Okay, so if your seals are basically non-dispellable, does that make your other things more easily dispelled? Oh no, because your seals... I don't know. Are your seals on you or on your target? Your seals are on you. And then when you judge them, it it sometimes creates an effect that is put on your target. So yeah, if with that in mind, if some of your things are less dispellable, what did the text on that read? Increases your resistance to stun effects by an additional 10% and reduces the chance your spells will be dispelled by an additional 30%. I'm just trying to think in terms of Avenging Wrath and how that might impact it being dispelled and or taken from you. That stoicism seems really good for PvP if you're going to play aggressive and use Avenging Wrath instead of some of your other protections. Wow, I like that spell. On you, yeah. So it's on you that you when you pop a seal, and sometimes your judgment effect will have something on your opponent. So yeah, like I don't know, having a 30% chance your spells will not be dispelled. That seems really good if you're playing aggressive and want to use Avenging Wrath aggressively instead of your defensive abilities.
Seals. Interestingly, there is another popular build that doesn't even take Crusader.
Increase your chance to critically hit with all spells and attacks by 2% and reduce the chance your seals will be dispelled by 66%. Where's that? That's in the bottom of the ret tree. Yeah.
Strike. I know. Madness. All this time waiting for this stoicism and second stun is pretty good, as well as repentance being another 6-second CC on a 20-yard range. Also, your seals are practically immune to dispels thanks to stoicism and sanctified seals.
Oh. So one of them's a 30% decreased chance, and the other one's a 66% decreased chance, which doesn't equal 106%. If you take 30% of 100, you've still got 77% chance, or a 70% chance of things being dispelled, and then you take 66 of that. So you're looking at like, what is the math for that? 60% of 70 would be 36, and then you add another 6%. You're looking at like 40%. So you have like only like a 30% chance of your seals being dispelled.
There is another popular
That's
build
interesting.
that doesn't even take Crusader Strike. I know, madness. All this time,
I mean, at least that's how I think the math would work out
using
for
it. What's up with that then? Well, it's kind of mana intensive to use on cooldown for a start, and your damage is already burst reliant to begin with, so why not relive some of the Reckoning Dreams from Classic? This moves some of the talents from deep into the ret tree back over to protection, with any attack against you having a 10% chance to grant your next 4 swings an extra attack. If getting trained by the likes of a rogue, for example, that's going to be a pretty solid uptime. Combine a little Wind Fury totem and you can really delete people with cooldowns.
That would be interesting because just the speed at which a rogue's attack. So that is an interesting thought. The faster the attack speed of your enemy, the more likely your Reckoning is to proc.
Speaking of cooldowns and about wings, though, as mentioned earlier, I'm
learning quite a bit here.
So make sure you're in a position to all in, or they can be quickly dispelled or leave you open to a hard swap whilst you can't bubble. Retribution sees a lot of play in 2s.
Oh, is he talking about Avenging Wrath?
Running. Speaking of cooldowns and about wings, though, as mentioned earlier, they do cause forbearance, so make sure you're in a position to all in, or they can be quickly dispelled or leave you open to a hard swap whilst you can't bubble. Retribution sees a lot of play in 2s, mainly with Resto Shaman, same deal in 3s, along with a warrior as the 3rd class. Paladins definitely have a few top tier arena teams, just not in as diverse of a cast of comps as other classes are. So let's finish this up on tier gear. If you can say one thing about Paladin tier gear, is there at least winners when it comes to appearances for all
They look really cool.
Sets. Tier 4, the Justicar Armor. Protection, more damage on a few seals. Funnily enough, blood is the least useful one here for prop pallers between both factions, but it's a nice bit of extra damage for the Alliance prots. 4 sets a bit more damage on Holy Shield, stacks up with your talents, not bad. Retribution 2 set, more damage bonus on a Judgment of the Crusader. I went to check and it's about 32 bonus holy damage, so yeah, not exactly the best. The 4 set, more damage on Judgment of Command, take that Blood Elves and your fancy new seal. The 2 set, more heals from your Seal of Light, not bad, your whole raid will benefit from this. The 4 set, less cooldown on Divine Favour, again it's okay, a guarantee crit on a bit of a smaller cooldown. Tier 5, the Crystal Forge Armor. Protection.
Crystal
set
Forge armor. That helmet looks like a wannabe like Power Ranger.
50 more damage on Retribution Aura. Does that make it better than Sanctity for damage? I'm thinking that it won't, no. The full set is a big bonus to block after the first attack hitting your Holy Shield. Depends on the encounter, I suppose. Niche use. The Ret 2 and 4 set are both not contributing much, let's put it like that. Maybe I'm underrating the group-wide heal. Holy, similar to Ret, doesn't...
Each time you cast Judgment, there's a chance you'll heal all nearby party members for 244 to 256. Each time you cast Judgment. I wonder what the chance... Like, I think typically when it says there's a chance, I think on average it's 5%, but then they'll tweak it behind the scenes. The belt looks weird. What belt? Oh my gosh, I just noticed it looks like he's wearing a onesie. Oh no. Oh no. Well, that, and I'm noticing that it doesn't seem like that great of abilities for having like multiple pieces. But another weird thing is that it's 2 and 4 pieces, and there's 5 pieces of gear, so it's like you if you want the 2-piece from one tier set and a 2-piece from another tier set, then like it seems totally reasonable. The belt looks weird. The color, I mean, like the blue color. It doesn't look like a belt. Like, I agree. Like, well, oh, it's not a belt. Yeah, I don't think it's a belt, but since you bring it up, it looks like several different things. 1, it looks like a Tinky Winky onesie. 2, it looks like a bright blue like loincloth, but actually a little bit more like a jockstrap. Yeah, no, there's multiple things wrong with it now that you pointed out.
And a shorter Holy Light once per minute. Tier 6 Light Forge armor. Thankfully, things turn around here, and there are some very nice bonuses to be had. The proc
Disregard.
10% more mana from Spiritual Attunement. I'm assuming this is a percentage of what Spiritual Attunement is baseline, that being 10, so this is a bonus 1% extra.
Bonus
1%. If it's a
1%.
flat 10,
Which
that is
pretty
insane,
good.
but if it's what I think it is, it's okay. The 4 set is 10% more damage on Consecration, which is amazing. This
That's
is your
pretty
best
great.
spell for pretty much
my
everything,
God.
and you will definitely want to get your hands on this.
Wow.
Retribution 2 sets.
Like, even if you're not playing... No, you're not going to go for that. Let's see. Lightbringer, Battle Gear. Your melee attacks have a chance to grant you 50 mana. Okay. Increase the damage dealt by your Hammer of Wrath ability by 10%.
Some mana return on your melees. That's okay. The 4 set would be great if Hammer of Wrath didn't reset your swing timer. It still has a cast time, so it's not worth using as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Holy 2 set, 5% more crit on Holy Light.
So what, you're only going to use Hammer of Wrath? Does it have a cast time? I was going to say you're only going to use it when you're really moving positions, but if it has a cast time, you're not using it at all.
Fantastic, it's your main.
Wait, and is Hammer of Wrath the ability you can only use when your enemy is below 20% health? You better hit that button right as your swing goes off. And then pray that you get your next swing in before the creature dies.
Heal. You're going to be stacking a huge amount of mana by tier 6, so this is really great. 4 set, more heals from Flash of Light. It's sort of outdone by Holy Light in TBC by this point though. So there we have it, a quick little rundown of the Paladin in TBC, but is it?
The tier gear seems lackluster. Like, I hope that like the sockets and like the other stats on the gear like outweigh the bonuses, because the bonuses seem pretty dull. And that's a shame for how cool they look. The bonuses just seem kind of dull. I just wonder, like, I haven't looked into it. I wonder what the stats are on each of them. I wonder if there's just like cool like spell damage or spell crit on them. I don't know. That would be something I have to look into.
For all intents and purposes, yes. Protection is now a real tank thanks to the new abilities they get. Retribution are very much wanted as part of a raid group and have their place in Arena 2. Holy, I would say, struggle the most when compared to Classic. A 40% nerf on Illumination just isn't anything to gloss over. They can still do very well in raid content and have a few solid arena comps too. No doubt there's going to be a huge amount of people waiting to live the Ret dream without being a meme. And I'm kind of hoping that Prot being a proper tank now is going to be sort of like when Death Knights came out at the start of Wrath, where there was this sudden huge influx of new players who actually want to play a tank class and gear them up beyond the first few weeks. I mean, with how good they are at farming gold, it makes sense to have one as an alt as well. I'm personally planning to continue.
The top half and the bottom half seem to like rotate like unproportionally. Like one's rotating one way while the other one's rotating the other way, and it looks
Because they
funny.
are at farming gold, it makes sense to have one as an alt as well. I'm personally planning to continue playing my Paladin.
I think
as
it's
my
just
main alt,
like
but I'm
exaggerated
making
because the
swap
shield and
over
the
from
weapon.
Holy to Prot for sure. It looks like it's got a lot of potential and should be a fun class to play when I'm not on my main. That about wraps up the Paladin. Do let me know if I missed anything big out or that you would have liked to have seen included. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.
What is that hammer? I have to know. That shoulder pad just looks so cool. Like, I feel like that's half the reason you'd want to play Paladin in the first place. Anyways, that is the class that I am thinking of rerolling and playing in the Burning Crusade. I was partially tempted to play a spell damage hunter, but I had a friend test out in beta to see if Arcane Shot still scales off as spell damage, which it doesn't. So that killed my Arcane Dream for Arcane Hunter. And I know that I want to main Blood Elf, so my options are limited a little bit there. Can't play Shaman, can't play Druid, can't play Warrior, which is funny that it's the only race in the game that can't be a Warrior. Kind of weird until Cataclysm. I mean, there's still a few options there. You've got Mage, Warlock, Hunter, Paladin, Rogue. I'm probably missing one. But yeah, no, probably play Paladin. I haven't had the chance to play it, and I think the seals and the auras are an interesting. Auras are kind of like a party-wide battle stance from warriors, so that's interesting. But yeah, I don't know. The seal twisting seems fun. It seems like has a high ceiling for gameplay. Seems like a fun class. It's probably what I think I am going to play. It's a little downer on the set bonuses for the gear, but again, I don't know what the set bonuses are for the rest of the classes. Maybe they're all the same, like a little bit lackluster. Like, I want to give PvP more of a shot, and I know that they're not amazing in PvP, so that's one thing to add a little bit to the con list. But I mean, they still have their use cases. Primarily, I'm also thinking about classes to play that could potentially bounce well off of people that I play a lot with. I have one friend who plays a warrior, but they said they're not going to play all that much. And then my other friend plays a druid. So actually, those two together, I hear warrior druid is amazing. Seeing all that gear reminds me that I have to collect more mocks. That's funny. You've never played a Pally before? I've played Pally a little bit in like later expansions, but again, I didn't really play like retail much for each expansion that came out. It wasn't really until Classic that I played heavily, that I've played a lot more of the game. And playing Horde, where all my friends are playing, I didn't have the option to play Paladin. Like I dabbled a little bit. I created another alternate account to go try out some Paladin, but I wasn't playing with friends. And like after like 12 levels or something, I was like, man, okay, I'll go do something else. They can be good in PvP. They have high survivability. That's what I've seen. It looks like you can't play Prot because it just doesn't do that much damage, but it looks like playing maybe like either a Shakadin or a Ret Prot like combo seems like it could be fun. And that's probably what I would end up doing. just because the people that I'd end up playing with probably would play more of the utility healer, being my friend that plays the druid. So I'd probably need to be more of the DPS, which I think there could be some interesting synergies from Resto Druid and Ret Paladin. So that could be interesting. We probably wouldn't have the damage that we need, but we could also play threes with a warrior. That could add a lot of damage into it. And with the fact that the Paladin can heal a little bit and the Resto Druid can heal a bit, I think that our warrior friend would probably be super tanky. Like, not in terms of him actually playing prop, but like just the mere fact of wearing plate and having high DPS. Like I think that threes combo might have a pretty good chance there. Your friend is a healer. Yep. My friend plays Resto Druid, and he played that through Classic. Not a very popular. I'm not gonna say popular. It's a very unique role that he filled. Yeah, he quite enjoys his druid gameplay, and I wonder what he's going to do. He's looking really forward to Arena. I don't know how much game time he's gonna have to play, but thinking about that, I think Druid, Paladin, so a Resto Druid, Ret Paladin, and Fury Warrior, Arms Warrior, something of that combo in Arena could be a lot of fun. It could be fun. Also want to try out some fives, but gotta have 5 friends for that. But anyways, I don't really plan on streaming too long for these real gamer hour streams that are really just hyper zoomed in on my face because I think it's funny. Like I said earlier, I am a little on the hungry side, so I think that I am going to take the opportunity to go let the dogs out and make myself something. Thinking chicken quesadilla because I already have chicken made. That's neat. I like druids. I liked playing feral, but they don't seem as good right now. Boomies are good at the moment. I've heard that. I've heard in retail that boomies are quite good. What'd you say? Boonies? I didn't notice the slip up. I read it as boomies. Yeah. Well, thanks for stopping by. Always fun having people to hang out and chat World of Warcraft and other sorts of nonsense with. So, thanks for stopping by, and